On the day of the college entrance exam, I saw Zhao Xinan off to his test and hung up on his childhood sweetheart's call. His childhood sweetheart was violated and left town, never to return. The day Zhao Xinan received his acceptance letter, he celebrated with me and confessed his feelings. That night, he plied me with drink, then carried me on his back to the space beneath the bridge. I was assaulted by a group of homeless men and received 2 critical condition notices. After being rescued, I inevitably contracted a filthy disease. As he peeled an apple, he said, "Xie Yue, can you finally understand the pain Cici went through?" Utterly despondent, I succumbed to my illness and died in bed. When I awoke again, I had been reborn on the day of the college entrance exam, watching Zhao Xinan abandon the test and flee the examination hall. A faint smile curled at the corner of my lips. 1. In the private hospital room, I stared fixedly at the green trees outside the window. Xie Yue, can you truly understand the pain Cici has endured? Zhao Xinan asked leisurely, peeling an apple. What did you say? I managed to croak out. 1 month ago, Zhao Xinan was accepted into his dream university, and Chen Cici told him about the violation she had suffered. Zhao Xinan took Chen Cici's hand, his eyes filled with deep affection. I don't care about any of that, he said. As long as you're by my side, that's all I need. But it was him who said I was the one he loved most. That he couldn't stand the good-for-nothing Chen Cici. Chen Cici gently pushed his hand away, offering a bittersweet smile. Xinan, I'm tainted. I'm not worthy of your love, and I'm not worthy of you. I wish you every success in your studies, and I wish you and Yue a lifetime of happiness together. Chen Cici went abroad, and Zhao Xinan didn't make the slightest effort to ask her to stay. He took my hand and invited me to his college acceptance celebration. You should go after her. A thing like this, you should call the police, I said, pulling my hand free. What I feel for Cici is nothing more than the affection of an ordinary friend. I said I didn't mind because I wanted her to feel better. The one I've loved, from the very beginning, has always been you. At the college acceptance celebration, he kept plying me with drinks and then confessed his feelings for me, while everyone else was egging us on, chanting, "Kiss her, kiss her." He gently kissed my forehead. I had planned to take a taxi home, but Zhao Xinan offered to carry me back. I was so captivated by his handsome looks and gentle manner that I walked right into a living hell. I was jolted awake by a foul stench. Zhao Xinan was gone. As I struggled to get up, filthy hands pushed me back down and began tearing off my clothes. My cries and pleas fell on deaf ears. I was like a lump of dough, utterly at their mercy. I was tormented until I lost consciousness. And it was Zhao Xinan who took me to the hospital. My parents were weeping uncontrollably. Zhao Xinan knelt before them, begging for forgiveness and promising to take responsibility for me. Critical condition notices were issued twice. My mother's once jet black, lustrous hair turned white overnight, and the light in her eyes completely faded. Where were you? I'm asking you, where were you? I demanded of Zhao Xinan, my voice raised. Zhao Xinan tried to soothe me. I'm the one who loves you most. Yue, don't be afraid. I've always been here for you. What I desperately wanted to know was, where was Zhao Xinan when I was being humiliated? My parents called the police, but those villains had long since vanished without a trace. Even with the medication, I still ended up catching that filthy disease. So, all of this was Zhao Xinan's revenge on me. 2. You kept asking where I was, didn't you? I was right there, recording the whole thing. Zhao Xinan pulled out his phone and played the video of my humiliation right in front of me. I knocked the phone out of Zhao Xinan's hand on pure reflex. It hit the floor with a sharp crack, but the sound from the video kept playing. Turn it off, turn it off. I roared at the top of my lungs. You will suffer 1,000 times over for the humiliation my Cici endured. A look of triumphant vengeance spread across Zhao Xinan's face. I huddled in the corner, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably as I frantically pulled up my own hair. The hospital room was specially arranged by my father, a private room with good soundproofing. As he was worried I might be disturbed, drunk and unaware of the humiliation I endured, all I remember is the pain that racked my entire body, suffocation, pain, a foul stench, and the stream of vile abuse from the phone. My hand reached for the window. A breeze brushed past. I wanted to jump. If I jumped, I wouldn't have to hear it anymore. Zhao Xinan's phone rang, forcing the video call to end abruptly. A moment of clarity returned to me. No, I can't give up. Mom and Dad still need me. I'm their only child. I can't let them bury their own child. I still need to see those villains brought to justice. I still need to tell the police that Zhao Xinan was an accomplice. Zhao Xinan answered the phone, his tone softening. Uncle, I'm here. Yes, yes. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Yue. After hanging up the phone, Zhao Xinan seemed like a different person, his expression cold and distant. yet tinged with a hint of smugness. Want to know what your dad said? He specifically told me not to tell you. Tell me, just say it. What on earth did Dad say? What's wrong with him? A sense of foreboding washed over me, my heart pounding in my chest. On her way to buy groceries for you. Your mother didn't notice the traffic light. In a daze, she crossed the street and was hit and killed instantly by a car. Mom, my mom is gone. I collapsed weakly to the ground, crying out in agony. Mom, I want my mom. What goes around, truly does come around. Overwhelmed by thoughts of my mother, I blacked out. 3. When I came to, my father was holding my hand, his face streaked with tears. I was on a ventilator and couldn't speak. Uncle, Yue will be alright. She's going to pull through, Zhao Xinan said gently. Though a glint of cunning in his eyes was unmistakable, I was too weak, and on top of that, my wound hadn't healed properly. The emotional turmoil caused my condition to worsen, and the virus began to attack my body. That's enough, get out. My father's tone was harsh as he drove Zhao Xinan out. Wei, you have to be okay. Don't leave your dad all alone. I'm scared. I'm really scared. He gripped my hand tightly, his tears falling onto the back of it. This tall, strong, and robust man was now crying his heart out, looking as pitiful and lost as a child. Our Wei is the bravest girl. She'll definitely pull through this. My father was busy with my mother's funeral arrangements, yet he still came to the hospital to be with me every single day. I couldn't speak, but I kept telling myself in my heart to be strong, to get through this no matter what. Chen Sisi, who had been abroad, came back, right in front of my father. She took out a stack of cash and offered it to him. I can't accept this. My father quickly refused. It's just a small token of my feelings. Yue and I were the closest of friends. If you don't take it, uncle, I'll feel terrible. My family is just an ordinary one. My illness has already drained all our savings. My father, worried about the cost of my treatment, gratefully accepted Chen Sisi's money after thanking her profusely. Uncle, Sinan, let me stay and talk with Yue for a while. You two are exhausted. Please go and get some rest. From now on, we can take turns keeping her company. My father doesn't know the current situation. All he knows is that there's a photo of Chen Sisi, Zhao Sinan, and me in my bedroom, so he thinks we're still on very good terms. And in the past, we really were. In the room, only Chen Sisi and I remained. She said with a laugh. Me, I was never violated. I made it all up. I just wanted to prove that Zhao Sinan loves me. Overwhelmed with emotion, I coughed up a mouthful of blood onto the ventilator. The virus had infected my heart and lungs. The doctor said my condition was critical, the unspoken implication being that I was probably beyond saving. Ha ha ha, you get good grades, you're good looking, and you have a good family, but what's the use? When Zhao Sinan said he liked you, it was only because he wanted free tutoring. My consciousness was fading, afraid I might not hear her. Chen Sisi deliberately leaned close to my ear. The one he loves will always be me. You were just a stepping stone, Chen Sisi said with a triumphant smile. Thank you for teaching my boyfriend so well. We'll burn some joss paper for you on our wedding day. 4. The phone kept vibrating. Its ringtone was my rendition of When Will the Moon Be Clear and Bright. Zhao Sinan always said I sang it beautifully, that he wanted to keep my voice with him forever. The caller ID on Zhao Sinan's phone displayed Chen Sisi's name. As Zhao Sinan walked into the exam hall, he waved at me and shouted, Xia Yue, once I get into university, we'll be together. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. I had been reborn, returned to the very day of Zhao Sinan's college entrance exam. Looking at Zhao Sinan's smiling face, a suffocating wave of hatred washed over me. I wanted nothing more than to rush over and strangle him with my bare hands. I fought to contain the overwhelming hatred, clenching my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms, breaking the skin and drawing blood, yet I felt nothing. I had already gotten into university, while Zhao Sinan was a student repeating his final year. Last year, he fell ill and couldn't sit for the college entrance exams. Zhao Sinan noticed something was off with me and hurried over. In my past life, I was afraid Chen Sisi would disturb him during his exam, so I took it upon myself to hang up the phone. This time, I won't. I'm actually curious to see what Zhao Sinan will decide. This is going to be quite a show. I can't wait to see how it plays out. It's Chen Sisi on the phone, I said, handing him his phone. Chen Sisi is so annoying, Zhao Sinan grumbled as he took the call. His face fell. After hanging up the phone, he muttered, Chen Sisi has been grabbed by some thugs. What should we do? Call the police, obviously, I said offhandedly, masking the hatred in my eyes. Right, the police. I've already wasted a year. I can't afford to lose any more time. See, Zhao Sinan doesn't really love Chen Sisi that much after all. I was such a fool in my past life. The phone rang again. Zhao Sinan, his brow furrowed, said helplessly, "We can't call the police, I have to go." "Alright," I said with a smile. "I support whatever you decide, you're the best, Yue." With that, Zhao Sinan rushed off towards Chen Sisi. Chen Sisi was never defiled, she admitted that to me herself in our past life. What would Zhao Sinan do if he knew Chen Sisi did it on purpose? 5. I thought about our past life, how my mother, distraught because of me, died in a car accident, and how my father's illness worsened, leaving him without his wife and daughter. The moment that thought crossed my mind, I tossed the clothes Zhao Sinan had left with me straight into the trash. My mom is a nurse at the hospital, and my dad is a teacher. I sent a message to my dad and then headed straight for the hospital. Sinan, that boy, Sinan. Mom's face paled slightly, afraid of worrying me. She didn't elaborate but instead asked, "Isn't today the college entrance exam?" From what Mom said, I learned that Zhao Sinan was in trouble. I couldn't help but feel a strong urge to laugh out loud, though I worried Mom would think I'd lost my mind. "Mom, I'm not close with him," I said. My tone sharp as I suppressed a swirl of complicated feelings. I linked my arm with hers and said more affectionately, "I texted Dad, he doesn't have classes today, so he'll bring us some food later." "Oh, you silly child, he's your classmate too," my mother said, stroking my head as she used to when I was little. "I'm still busy, why don't you go find somewhere to wait for a while?" From the other doctors and nurses, I learned that Zhao Sinan had gone alone to an abandoned building in the suburbs to rescue Chen Sisi. During a fight with some thugs, he had fallen from the second floor. After everything Zhao Sinan had put me through in my past life, how could I not go and see for myself the price he was paying now? Smack, smack, smack. I didn't find Zhao Sinan. Instead, from the stairwell, I saw his mother through the glass in a door. Her face contorted with rage as she slapped Chen Sisi. Chen Sisi's face was slapped red and swollen, utterly humiliated. "You little tramp, last year, when Sinan was taking the college entrance exam, you deliberately seduced him, making him miss the Chinese language test on the second day. Once you miss the Chinese test, your scores for the remaining subjects don't add up to much anyway." Zhao Sinan was in my graduating class, while Chen Sisi attended a technical secondary school. Whenever she had a spare moment, Chen Sisi would come to our school to pick Zhao Sinan up after class. Zhao Sinan told me more than once just how much he couldn't stand her. During last year's college entrance exams, I waited for him but he never showed. I even had our homeroom teacher call him. After I finished my exams, I asked him what had happened. "I got sick, really sick. I have no choice but to repeat my final year." On the other end of the line, I could hear Chen Sisi's voice, putting on a deliberately coquettish act. Chen Sisi insisted on coming to take care of me. It's so annoying. In fact, he wasn't sick at all. He had missed the exam because he was off fooling around with Chen Sisi. "Why are you pulling the same old trick? You've heard him over and over again. You vile woman, look what you've done to Sinan, you've ruined my son." Zhao Sinan's father was abusive. His mother divorced for his sake and worked from dawn till dusk. Initially, his grades were just average, but after I tutored him, he was performing on par with me. When Mrs. Zhao heard about me, she even bought milk and fruit and came to my home to thank me personally. She pinned all her hopes on Sinan getting into a good university and making something of himself. Yet, because of Chen Sisi, Zhao Sinan missed the college entrance exam twice. Auntie, I was almost assaulted by a thug. "You bitch, you slut, you're just like your mother, a worthless whore." Chen Sisi dropped all pretense and went for broke. "That's right, I did it on purpose. I seduced him on purpose, let him fall asleep in my bed, and I deliberately didn't wake him up so he'd miss his exam. This time, I also lied to him on purpose, saying a thug was going to attack me. I made him give up his exam to prove that he loves me. Auntie, I'm just that kind of worthless person. And yet your son is absolutely crazy about me." 6. I glanced at the recording on my phone and asked a nurse where Zhao Sinan, who had just been brought in, was located. Zhao Sinan was being resuscitated in the emergency room. As I waited outside the door, a perfect plan for revenge came to mind. When the doctors wheeled Zhao Sinan out, he looked utterly drained. "Where is the family?" the doctor asked me. She's my girlfriend." The moment Zhao Sinan saw me, a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes. I never agreed to that. Even though I was seething with hatred inside, I didn't let a single trace of it show on my face. The doctor wheeled him into a standard ward. Chen Sisi immediately rushed over. Zhao's mother was busy handling the payment and picking up the medication, so she didn't have much time to pay attention to Chen Sisi. "I'm so sorry, Sinan, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't be like this." Chen Sisi wept, her face streaked with tears. I watched their little performance from the sidelines in silence. "Get out," Just get out. You're the reason I lost my leg. Get the hell away from me. Amputation. I lowered my head, afraid they would see the smile I couldn't suppress. It's not enough. This little bit of punishment is nowhere near enough to make up for the suffering I endured in my past life. He only lost a leg, but I lost my life. Chinsisi wiped away her tears and declared with conviction, I know you can't accept this. But I can make it up to you. I can be your crutch. Chinsisi, you make me sick. I will never like you. Zhao Xinan's face was deathly pale and contorted with rage, a far cry from the clean-cut, pure-hearted boy in a white shirt and jeans I had first met. As if she hadn't heard him, Chinsisi said with self-satisfied emotion, you must be hungry. I'll go make you something to eat. You've always loved my kanji the most. After Chinsisi left, Zhao Xinan beckoned to me, Wei Wei, come here. Don't stand so far away from me. Okay. Zhao Xinan gazed at me with deep affection in his eyes, but all I felt was disgust. I approached Zhao Xinan, seeing him so weak. I couldn't help but remember when I was critically ill, on a ventilator, unable to speak. That was when he laid bare his true feelings. Nothing but endless disgust and calculation towards me. Don't get the wrong idea, there's nothing between us. Her mother abandoned her father and went abroad with another man. Her father's an alcoholic and barely pays her any attention. She's been starved for affection since she was a child. I was just nice to her, and she latched on to me. Wei Wei, I absolutely despise her. She's so annoying. The only reason I went to see her was, Zhao Xinan racked his brains for a moment before continuing, because you were harassed by those thugs before, and I didn't save you then. I wanted to prove my courage. What? He wasn't the one who saved me. But he was the one who saved me. I was wrong, I admit it. I always thought it was because he saved me that I fell for him. We were walking home together when we ran into some thugs, and I saw one of them had a knife. He ran off quickly, shouting, I'm going to get the police. A thug grabbed me, my glasses were smashed, and with my severe nearsightedness, I couldn't see a thing. In my dazed state, someone fought off the thug. I thought it was Zhao Xinan, who had come back for me, and now he goes to rescue Chinsisi, but claims it's to prove something to me. It's obvious he's the one who likes Chinsisi, yet he still wants to use me. Zhao Xinan, you're quite the storyteller. Wei Wei, will you be my girlfriend? 7. I laughed, and a smile appeared on Zhao Xinan's face too. He thought I had said yes. No, I refused, my voice firm and resolute. Zhao Xinan's face froze, and he stammered, we love each other. We're both adults now. We can be together. I took out my phone and played the recording of the conversation between Mrs. Zhao and Chinsisi. Zhao Xinan heard his mother's voice coming from the phone, and then heard the secret of him skipping last year's exam being exposed. He reached out to snatch my phone, but I was ready for him. I took a step back, and he missed. Vivi, I can explain. I didn't say a word. I just kept playing it. That's right. I did it on purpose. I seduced him on purpose, let him fall asleep in my bed. And I didn't wake him up on purpose, so he'd miss the exam. This time, I lied to him on purpose too. I told him some thugs were going to hurt me. I made him skip his exam, just to prove how much he loved me. Auntie, I'm just that kind of worthless woman, and yet your son is absolutely crazy about me. Chinsisi's secret was laid bare before him, his face darkened, his teeth clenched, as if he wanted to tear her apart right then and there, once the recording finished playing. I got up to leave. Vivi, she seduced me, you heard it yourself, she came onto me on purpose. I'm the victim here. It only happened that one time. You have to believe me. You're the only one in my heart. Vivi, please don't leave me. Zhao Xinan's eyes were red-rimmed, and with his weak, pale appearance, it was as if I had committed some unforgivable crime. Zhao Xinan, you dare do it but won't own up to it. You're such a hypocrite. Disgusting and despicable. I cut him off, pouring out everything on my mind in one go, and instantly felt a weight lift off my shoulders. 8. Dad made sweet and sour pork ribs, spicy rabbit, garlic stir-fried lettuce, and a winter melon and corn soup. I sat next to Mom as he ladled soup for us. We were having a lovely, cozy meal together in the hospital cafeteria. Mom teased me, you're a big kid now. How come you're still such a clingy one? In my past life, because of me, my mother's jet black hair turned white overnight. And because of me, in a dazed state, she was in a car accident. The one responsible for all of this was Zhao Xinan, the boy I had loved for 3 whole years. I was utterly foolish. It felt like my heart was being crushed by sharp iron claws, a sharp, spreading pain radiating from my chest. So intense I couldn't breathe. Wei Wei, what's wrong? Mom noticed my pale complexion and quickly reached out to feel my forehead. Mom, I'm fine, really. I suppressed the ache in my heart. Heaven had given me a second chance, and I would not make the same mistakes again. Dad smiled as he served Mom some food, asking in a playful, coaxing tone, "You've worked so hard, honey, what would you like for dinner? Your big sweetheart will make it for you. I am Mom's little sweetheart. And Dad is her big sweetheart." I couldn't help but facepalm. Dad was getting all lovey-dovey again. "Yue, there you are, Mrs. Zhao," exclaimed upon seeing me, as if she had spotted a savior. Her tense expression instantly transformed into one of excitement and relief. Before I could say a word, Mrs. Zhao dropped to her knees with a thud. "Yue, I'm begging you, please save my son, he can't live without you." Her dramatic kneeling and loud wailing drew the attention of everyone in the cafeteria. Some onlookers, never ones to miss a spectacle, even pulled out their phones to start recording. "What on earth are you doing? Get up." The man who had just been playfully whining to his wife had now transformed into a stern father. "I won't get up until you agree to be my son's girlfriend." My dad tried to pull her up, but I grabbed his hand and said, "Let her kneel, let her be." 9. What in the world is going on here? I know this woman, her son broke his leg and had to have it amputated. That girl is head nurse Lu's daughter. Oh my god, is this woman out of her mind? Does she just emotionally blackmail whoever her son takes a fancy to? Mrs. Zhao heard the whispers around her. She grabbed onto my calf and cried, "Yue, you and Sinan were in love for 3 years. How can you abandon him just because he lost his leg? You've got it all wrong, ma'am. My daughter gets good grades. It's only right she helps a classmate. If you're going to make such vile accusations, we can take this to the police station." My mother shielded me, her tone sharp. "If you talk like that, my daughter won't dare help anyone ever again. Don't project your own dirty mind onto my innocent girl. Sinan is on the rooftop right now. He only wants to see you. Please go to him, Yue. He's my only child." Mrs. Zhao's face flushed and paled by turns under my mother's words. Why didn't she say anything earlier? Is Mrs. Zhao not worried Sinan might actually jump? Looks like it's all an act. My parents still wanted to go with me, but I said earnestly, "I'm an adult now. I'm 19, you both have work, I'll handle this." Dad wanted to come along, but Mom reassured me, saying, "Don't be afraid, go ahead and do what you need to do. Your dad and I will always have your back." 10. Zhao Sinan, leaning on his crutch, stood on the hospital rooftop with half his body already hanging over the edge. The firefighters all held back, afraid of agitating Zhao Sinan. "Buy us some time, the air cushion is on its way," the firefighter said to me. I managed a smile and said gently, "Sinan, I'm here now, aren't I? Yue, I love you. Do you know that?" Zhao Sinan asked me loudly. "I know," I said, walking over slowly. "I understand how you feel about me. Can you forgive my mistake, please? I just lost my head for a moment and did the wrong thing. Of course, everyone makes mistakes, and I'm no exception. My greatest mistake was ever meeting Zhao Sinan." Mistaking a fisheye for a precious pearl, the onlookers captured Zhao Sinan's heartfelt confession on video. I slowly walked closer to him, wishing with every fiber of my being that he would fall right then and there, shattered into pieces. A gruesome sight. "I forgive you." I slowly stepped onto the platform. It was quite wide, about a meter across. As long as you held on, there would be no problem. Zhao Sinan didn't hold on. Instead, he leaned his body out over the edge. It was as if he truly feared losing me, resorting to this method to force my hand. "Vivi, I truly love you. I can't live without you." I glanced down at the ground below. A firefighter, having readied the air cushion, waved up at me. They signaled to me that I could leave. "Give me a kiss, and I'll believe you've truly forgiven me," Zhao Sinan said with a gentle, warm smile. Looking closely at his face, it was truly remarkable. Yet beneath that handsome exterior lay a heart full of repulsive malice. I slowly stepped back, and Zhao Sinan quickly reached out to grab me. "What more do you want from me? You love me so much. Can't you just forgive me? Forgive your mother," I roared, kicking him down. 11. Sinan, my son." Mrs. Zhao cried out before collapsing in a faint. I turned back and saw someone was still filming. "He and I are not a couple. We never were, we aren't now, and we never will be." Zhao Sinan, "You make me sick." Mom and Dad said they'd let me handle it myself, but they still followed me up to the rooftop. Seeing I was okay, they pulled me into a tight hug. I'm an adult, but in their eyes, I'll always be their child. They're willing to let me face challenges, but they can't bear to see me get hurt in the slightest. I never expected those videos to go viral online so quickly. How cruel is this girl? If you don't love him anymore, just say so. How could you just kick him down like that? That's practically attempted murder. Classic case of ditch your lover once you make it. She's in our class, named Xia Yue, and she was really close with Zhao Sinan. Zhao Sinan got seriously ill last year and couldn't take the exams, And now, just because she sees his leg is injured, she drops him. Back in our class, she was always so aloof and looked down on everyone. Women really are such opportunistic creatures. Dig up her dirt, expose her completely. Gossip and rumors spread like wildfire online. Even the incident from my sophomore year of high school, when I was nearly assaulted by a thug, was dug up and exposed. Some went even further, saying things like, "She's probably a used-up slut. Once she got a taste of some random man, she ditched her sweet boyfriend. What a disgrace. She's bringing shame on all women," commented a male netizen pretending to be a female user. My feelings for Zhao Xinan were confined to the pages of my diary. I believe I exercised strict self-restraint and never crossed the line of being just classmates. Zhao Xinan was well aware of my feelings for him, yet he never overstepped any boundaries in his behavior. This only made my younger, more impressionable self admire him all the more. I was utterly distraught. In a fit of rage and impulse, I kicked Zhao Xinan over the edge, just to vent my anger, even though I knew there was an air cushion below and he wouldn't be hurt. But netizens only believe what they want to see. This incident had a severe impact on my parents, resulting in their suspension from work. "Vivi, remember what Mom said, don't be afraid, your dad and I will always be here for you," Mom said, pulling me into her embrace. Breathing in her familiar scent, I felt an inexplicable sense of peace wash over me. "Mom, I'll be strong. Given a second chance, I won't let Zhao Xinan get his way." 12. Zhao Xinan created an account called Zhao Xinan, never dumped by a girlfriend, and posted on Weibo, supposedly to clear my name, but in reality, he just threw more mud at me. "Everyone is right. Xia Yue is my girlfriend. We had a minor disagreement. It's not like what's being said online, that she broke up with me after getting into university. As for the incident where she was harassed by thugs, that's a wound she never wants to revisit. Please don't rub salt in it. I love her, and she loves me. We are not breaking up. Please, everyone, give us your blessings." I stared fixedly at the content soaring to the top of the trending list. Why is Zhao Xinan so hellbent on being with me? He loves Chen Sisi, that's undeniable, otherwise he wouldn't have killed my past self just to avenge her. That day, when I told him the truth about how Chen Sisi had deceived him, even if he had a reaction, it shouldn't have been this extreme. He should have settled the score with Chen Sisi, not clung to me like this. What else has been going on that I don't know about? Before I could come up with a plan, Chen Sisi reached out to me. She asked to see me, and I agreed. She might just be the key to breaking this deadlock. "You don't love Zhao Xinan." "No, I don't love him," I said bluntly. Chen Sisi let out a sigh of relief. She began to recount, in a gentle and detailed manner, the deep affection and strong bond between her and Zhao Xinan. I listened in silence, because I had heard Zhao Xinan's version of their relationship before. What were beautiful memories for Chen Sisi were, in Zhao Xinan's telling, nothing but endless disgust and contempt, with perhaps just a sliver of pity. "You know what?" Chen Sisi said, taking my hand and speaking with utter seriousness. "My mother abandoned me. My father couldn't care less. As long as Zhao Xinan cares about me, he is my salvation. I can't live without him. Without his love, I would die. What do you plan to do? I just hope you won't undermine me. I'd be grateful if you didn't try to take him from me. In my past life, she was so arrogant in front of me, flaunting how loved she was. Turns out, in matters of love, she was groveling in the dirt. He doesn't love anyone. The only person he loves is himself. I've said all I can. Chen Sisi probably won't listen anyway." 13. As I stepped out of the cafe, a tall, unfamiliar man blocked my path. My hand instinctively went to the scissors in my bag, a reflex born from that incident in my second year of high school, a shadow that stayed with me. Even though nothing happened, I'm still terrified of running into bad people. "Teacher Xia sent me to pick you up. Don't you recognize me, Yue?" I stared at him blankly. Who was he? He didn't get angry, just put some distance between us, walking one in front of the other. I texted my dad to ask, and he replied, "Zhou Zhili, the boy who tutored you in math." Hearing that from my dad, I remembered a boy who had come to our house many years ago. He returned the tuition money my father had paid for him and said, "Thank you, Teacher Xia, but I need to earn money to buy medicine for my grandmother. I can't continue my studies." My father said he was a filial child, just dealt a very hard lot in life. He was an orphan, found and taken in by an elderly woman who collected scrap for a living. He was an excellent student, but unfortunately, his family had no money, and his grandmother was ill. My father strongly urged him to continue his education, because only through learning could he change his destiny. As for grandma's medical bills, Dad gritted his teeth and agreed to cover them. Mom, being a nurse, pulled some strings to get her the surgery. We didn't even charge him for living expenses. He just stayed at our house. He took care of all the household chores and even tutored me with my studies. It's no wonder I forgot about him. He had changed so much. The once overly cautious young man has undergone a remarkable transformation. His every gesture now carries a natural, effortless charm, elegant and refined. It was me. I sent Chinsisi to find you. 14. I looked at him, puzzled. He continued. Chinsisi has only Zhao Sinan. To her, Zhao Sinan is a life raft, and she is the drowning woman. She will cling to him with everything she has. A single raft can only bear the weight of one person. If she sees you trying to take her place, she will undoubtedly push you into the water. If you don't like him, why not stand here on the shore with me and watch them drift along in the water? I happened to hear my dad mention him. He did a combined bachelor's, master's, and doctoral program. As expected, when a big shot talks, it's just on another level. Right in the middle of our conversation, a van pulled up and a whole crowd of people with microphones and cameras came pouring out. A swarm of small media companies, eager to chase the story and capitalize on the traffic, descended all at once. I nearly fell, but Zhou Jili caught and steadied me, leaning heavily on his cane. Zhao Sinan struggled toward me. Is it because of him? He asked, his voice thick with pain. You left me for him, Wei Wei. How could you be so cruel? I've already dragged my parents into this. I absolutely cannot involve Zhou Jili as well. Before I could even begin to explain, Zhou Jili stepped forward, physically shielding the camera lens. Xia Yue was never in a relationship with you, so abandonment doesn't even come into it. You deliberately spread malicious rumors about her online. This isn't about how much you liked her. It's more about using public opinion to emotionally blackmail her. I would advise all my friends in the press not to fabricate baseless stories just for clicks, otherwise, you will be hearing from our lawyers. Zhao Sinan was seething with rage. The interviewer asked, what is your capacity by her side, and is it true that she was violated? Her father was my esteemed teacher. That time, I was the one who saved her in the nick of time. She was unharmed. Was it Zhou Jili who saved me? It was actually him. 15. Zhou Jili drove me home, and my parents insisted he stay for dinner. I was curious about what Chinsisi was up to, so I went back to my room. People on the internet really have too much time on their hands. Today's interview video is spreading like wildfire online. OMG. I'm totally shipping this couple. If Xia Yue dumps that amputee guy for this hot guy, I'd be totally fine with it. The sapiosexual male lead has walked right out of a novel. I'm obsessed. My vast network of connections, I need all his information. Have you noticed how the sapiosexual male lead and the amputee character bear a certain resemblance? My heart clenched as I thought of my naive ignorance from years ago. Zhou Jili, is it okay if I like you? Just as I thought Zhou Jili had agreed. He enunciated each word clearly. No. After that, he never spoke to me again. There was this girl who waited for him every morning to walk to school together. I knew it. He wasn't into someone like me. He preferred the sweet, gentle girl next door type. What I never knew was that the person who saved me back then was actually Zhou Jili. In my past life, I had always believed it was Zhao Sinan. There's a 6-year age gap between us. The distance feels insurmountable. In the class group chat, Zhao Sinan sent a compressed file. Class monitor, can you help me recall that message? I can't undo it myself. With a shared, unspoken understanding, everyone clicked on it. The image that loaded was a sleeping Zhao Sinan, shirtless. Further down, there are private videos. Honey, we have to record our first time. Of course, when we're old, we can look back on our youthful days. Later on, there are fight scenes you'd only find on sketchy websites. Xia Yue, may I come in? The voice from outside the door startled me so much I nearly dropped my phone. I can. 16. Zhou Jili entered the room, leaving the door conspicuously wide open. Don't worry, I can handle this. I won't let anything happen to you again. I was stunned for a moment and asked, have you been reborn too? Reborn? It's fine to read novels, but you must distinguish between reality and fiction. So, there was no rebirth. I had misunderstood. What did he mean by something happening again? I had a nightmare that something happened to you. I only found out you were in trouble after asking Professor Xia. Thank you, Brother Jili. Zhou Jili frowned, seemingly displeased with the form of address. If I called you by your name directly, you'd say I have no sense of propriety. You've got this. I stayed silent. We used to be inseparable friends, but maybe in his eyes, my place was just a temporary stopover. Now, we are familiar strangers, for grad school. Whether it's through the entrance exam or a recommendation, are you thinking of applying to my university? I'm only a freshman, and he's studying at Tsinghua University. I don't even dare to think about it. just like him, I don't dare to entertain such thoughts. You could start planning early. My phone rang. It was Mrs. Zhao sharing her livestream. What on earth is she trying to do? I shook my phone to signal that I was busy. Zhou Zhili left my room, closing the door behind him. Once inside, I realized it was Chen Cici live streaming. Guessing she might be up to something, I started recording the stream. Chen Cici, how could you be so despicable? Why did you have to send that file to the class group? You've completely humiliated me. 17. Zhao Xinan sat on the sofa. In a fit of rage, he picked up a handy cane and struck Chen Cici with it. The live stream was suddenly flooded with viewers, their comments pouring in. Isn't that Zhao Xinan? The guy who's never been dumped by a girlfriend, is he about to hit his girlfriend? No, it's not Xia Yue, it's his childhood sweetheart. I added, a man who hits a woman is the lowest of the low. Brother Sinan, I sent it by accident, and you're barely even in the video, but there are other photos of me in there. You're so stupid, you sent it from my phone, everyone will know it was me screwing you. Zhao Sinan cursed crudely in his local dialect. Chen Cici, my mother was right. You're nothing but trouble. I was wrong in my last life, and I won't make the same mistake again in this one. My last life, this life. Zhao Xinan has been reborn too. Since he's been reborn, he should know exactly how much I hate him. In the comments, people are spamming. Can someone share the video? If you're asking for it, then I'm asking for the video too. If you all want it, then I want it too. Sinan, I've given you my heart and soul. You're all I have now. Please don't leave me. Chen Cici sobbed, resting her head on Zhao Sinan's uninjured leg, utterly distraught. You promised you loved only me. How could you abandon me? The moment Chen Cici began to cry, the anger vanished from Zhao Sinan's face. He gently soothed her. You love me, don't you? Exactly. So, you'll do whatever I say. Great. I truly love you, and you're the only woman for me. But I have to make Xia Yue my girlfriend. Don't be fooled by her current situation. She has an incredibly wealthy older brother. When the time comes for his little sister to get married, he's bound to give a substantial gift. Right, who needs college then? Zhao Sinan's true colors were laid bare in the live stream, completely unbeknownst to him. An older brother. I'm an only child. I don't have a brother. The comment section was flooded with messages of sympathy for me. Poor Xia Yue, she really landed a gold-digging scumbag. I was wrong back then. I even defended that scumbag who set up this live stream. It's airing all this dirty laundry. Even heaven can't stand to watch this anymore. Mrs. Zhao returned, groceries in hand. The moment she saw Chen Cici, she yelled, you bitch, how dare you show your face here? Look at how much you've hurt Sinan. You've harmed Sinan again and again, making him miss the college entrance exam twice. You jinx. You shameless little bitch. The live stream on the phone cut off abruptly. Mrs. Zhao was cursing Chen Cici, and the stream got banned. 18. What happened after that? I learned from the internet. Using Zhao's mother's phone, Chen Cici went live, leading Zhao Sinan to mistakenly believe his mother was trying to catch Chen Cici in a mistake. This backfired, ultimately exposing his own hypocritical true nature. Because of this incident, the bond between Zhao's mother and Zhao Sinan was completely shattered. Zhao's mother simply washed her hands of him. After slaving away to care for him, only to be cursed and hated in return, she decided to use her own hard-earned money to play cards and enjoy herself. She recorded a video, stating, who did I work myself to the bone for? For this child, I divorced my abusive husband. When he needed money for a good high school, I worked as a waitress by day and delivered food by night, all to give him a proper learning environment. But he, time and again, gave up on his exams. I'm exhausted. I'm utterly exhausted. The moment that wretched woman starts crying, he blames me, criticizes me, says everything is my fault. I was truly wrong for supporting him all these years. Now he's 19, a legal adult. I don't want to be responsible for him anymore. Whatever sins or mistakes he makes, he can bear the consequences himself. Zhao's mother is no match for Chen Cici's manipulative tactics. I was wondering why Chen Cici used Mrs. Zhao's phone to go live. It turns out she was deliberately framing her, aiming to drive a wedge between mother and son. I suddenly understand how Zhou Zhili described Chen Cici. She's like a drowning person who, upon encountering a life-saving piece of driftwood, will cling to it at any cost. Chen Cici repeatedly drags Zhao Sinan down because she knows that once he achieves success and fame, she will no longer be able to reach his level. Only if Zhao Sinan remains in the dirt with her can they be bound together forever. Also, I need to apologize to Xia Yue. Back then, Zhao Sinan made me go and beg you. He wanted to emotionally blackmail you into being his girlfriend. It's a really good thing you didn't agree. That ungrateful wretch is completely unworthy of you. I never expected that in her rage. Zhao's mother would turn on her own son, public opinion flipped. And everyone turned to criticize Zhao Xinan. As for me, my academic advisor told me to return to school for classes as soon as possible. Dad asked Zhou Zhili to see me off. Zhou Zhili grabbed a bag of snacks and shoved it into my hands. Wait here for a minute. I had no idea what Zhou Zhili was up to, but I waited for him at the coffee shop anyway. 19, Wei Wei, Zhao Xinan called out, leaning on his crutch as he walked towards me with a carton of peanut milk in his hand. I recoiled instinctively. After everything that's happened, I find I'm not so fixated on getting revenge on Zhao Xinan anymore. As long as he lives, Zhao Xinan will forever be held in contempt. Chen Xixi's extremism and perversion will be his greatest torment. Staying away is the best course of action. So, this is our final farewell, isn't it? Don't you want to hear how I died in my past life? So, he really was reborn. We walked into the cafe together. It was morning, and only a handful of people were scattered about. He placed the peanut milk on the table, and I pushed it back. I don't need it anymore. There's quite a lot in the snack bag Zhou Zhili gave me. This is your favorite peanut milk. I used to bring you a bottle every morning. Yeah, but that was in the past. We've been reborn. We can never go back to how things were. Drink it. I've already been punished. This is the last time we'll see each other. I took the peanut milk, and he smiled at me, saying, wait for me a moment. Zhao Xinan limped out. I asked the server for an empty cup and poured the peanut milk he gave me into it. It's a habit of mine. I used to love pouring it into a cup and sipping it all morning because it was a gift from someone I liked. I wanted to savor the sweetness of the peanut milk. Feeling a bit thirsty, I was just about to pick it up and take a drink. I set the cup down again and pulled out the peanut milk Zhou Zhili had given me from the snack bag. I pierced the seal with a straw and began to drink slowly. If I was going to start over, I had to change my old habits too. Zhao Xinan returned, holding a bouquet of flowers. I said coldly, if you're here to talk about starting over, I don't think that's possible. No, I wanted to say, I'm sorry, Wei Wei, I'm truly sorry, I hurt you. I swallowed the peanut milk in my mouth. The wounds he inflicted are still raw. How could I ever forgive him? I didn't kick him when he was down. That's the most I could do. He set the bouquet of flowers aside. In my past life, I received an anonymous letter and discovered Chen Xixi was never actually violated. I also received your diary and realized the one who loved me most was you. When I confronted Chen Xixi, she went into a frenzy of self-harm, full of regret. She was a complete lunatic. You know, Zhao Xinan, aren't you just as much of a lunatic? On the day of my college entrance exam, after I went to see Chen Xixi, some thugs pushed me down the stairs. In that moment, I was reborn. I swore that when I woke up, I would find my way back to you. Even my suicide, it was just a desperate attempt to get back together. That version of me, willing to do anything. You must have been terrified, right? Zhao Xinan's throat was dry from talking. He picked up the glass from the table and took a drink. Zhao Xinan, after what you did to me in our past life, there is no chance for us in this one. I will never forgive you. But I came back from the future. I know more than you do. Do you know what day it is today? It's the day you died in our previous life. Zhao Xinan continued. I know what's going to happen. We could be rich, incredibly rich. We could win the lottery, become prophets. Anything is possible. I watched Zhao Xinan smile. There was no remorse in him, just the same old arrogance as always. In your past life, your brother even visited your grave. Do you know him now? It's a shame he was all covered up. Otherwise I could have helped you find him. My parents only had me. I don't have a brother. He knew this was the case. Zhao Xinan suddenly laughed, as if a light bulb had gone off. It's Zhou Zhili. I knew he looked familiar when I saw him last time. He's the Zhou family's long-lost child. You really are lucky. What I really want to know is, how did you die? In our last life, I doubt Zhao Xinan lived much longer either. Chen Xixi is a lunatic. When I broke up with her, she drove her car straight into the river. It ruined my chance to go to university. Only now do I realize that hanging up on me back then was the absolute right call. Alright, I tossed the empty bottle into the trash. This is where we part ways. Let's never see each other again. Do you really think you can just walk away? Zhao Xinan fixed me with a sly, unwavering stare. You drank the peanut milk I spiked. 20. What did you put in it? I demanded. Zhao Xinan, how could I ever allow you to die so easily? I can't bear to lose you. That substance damages the nerves. It will only make you forget the past, forget it all. If you forget, you can fall in love with me all over again. I think I have a pretty good idea what it is. My mom once mentioned a drug called obedience water. It damages the nervous system, and an overdose can be fatal. I dialed 120. Zhao Xinan staggered to his feet and demanded, how are you still fine? Was it a fake? Seeing how deathly pale Zhao Xinan looked, it probably wasn't a fake. Thank goodness I was on my guard and didn't drink what he gave me. It was a stroke of divine justice that he ended up drinking the very water he had drugged. Zhao Xinan was rushed into the emergency room once again. Chen Sisi charged up to me and demanded, "Didn't you say you didn't like him? Why did you see him? What did you do to him?" I said helplessly, "Zhao Xinan tried to drug me, and he's the one who got hurt by his own scheme. What will happen to him? I guess I'm stuck with you forever." Hearing this, a gleam of excitement shone in Chen Sisi's eyes. After Zhao Xinan was paralyzed and the matter was explained to the police, Zhou Zhili gave me a ride to school. "Is it okay if I like you?" The moment I stepped out of the car, Zhou Zhili grabbed my arm. "Not allowed," I said, mimicking his tone, enunciating each word. "You were too young before, you didn't understand love. I just wanted to wait until you were a little older to begin." Zhou Zhili didn't let go of my arm. "These past few days, I've been having dreams where Zhao Xinan kills you. In the dream, you avenged me, you made Zhao Xinan learn the truth." Stirred up conflict between him and Chen Sisi, which led to them, I murmured, remembering how Zhao Xinan had described his own death, into the river. Zhou Zhili and I cried out in unison, "So, in my past life, the one who avenged me, was him." "How did you know?" I kissed his lips. "The one I've loved, it must have been him all along." Zhou Zhili slipped a ring onto my finger, "So that's why he asked me to wait, he was getting the ring ready." 21. After graduation. Zhou Zhili and I got our marriage certificate. I was admitted to his university for graduate studies, so we wouldn't have to be in a long-distance relationship anymore. As for Zhao Xinan, after he became paralyzed, he thought of Chen Sisi's kindness and wanted to marry her. Chen Sisi was more than willing, but Zhao Xinan's mother was not. To get back at the two of them, she married Chen Sisi's alcoholic father, making any future between Chen Sisi and Zhao Xinan impossible. I never deleted Chen Sisi's WeChat. She posts photos of Zhao Xinan every single day. "Oh dear, my big brother had an accident in his pants, but I don't mind one bit. My brother can't handle hard food, so I chew it up for him and feed it to him. I love my brother the most, and I will never, ever abandon him. My brother is a eunuch. Today, I found a cat, and he's a eunuch too." After that, Chen Sisi didn't post any photos of Zhao Xinan for a long time, so this little eunuch cat belongs to my sweetheart. What a small world. Zhao Xinan, why don't you just drop dead? It's all your fault my true love left me. I deleted Chen Sisi from WeChat, a smirk playing on my lips. "Honey, what are you looking at?" Zhou Zhili asked with a warm smile, leaning in close. "Just watching the one who caused all the trouble get what they deserve." Story 2. My boyfriend was the top scorer in the college entrance exam, but he applied to a shady vocational school. I convinced him to change his application to Tsinghua University's computer science program. After graduation, we earned millions annually and had a blissful married life, but on the day his childhood sweetheart got married, he smashed my leg with a computer tower. If it weren't for you stopping me, I could have gone to the same university as Jaya. I should have been the one to marry her. So he had been holding a grudge all these years for me persuading him to change his college application back then. In front of our child, I was beaten to death by domestic violence. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. Watching the computer screen, I saw my boyfriend had filled all his college application choices with that shady vocational college where his unrequited love was enrolled. He turned his head and asked me with a smile, "Baby, what do you think of my college choices?" 1. Baby. What do you think of my college choices? Hearing my boyfriend's words, I instinctively shivered and covered my broken right leg. Don't hit me. In my previous life, on the day my boyfriend's white moonlight got married, Sumoting's handsome face twisted as he rushed into the study with reddened eyes. He ignored that I was in a remote meeting and directly picked up the computer tower to smash my right leg on the computer screen. Hundreds of online colleagues witnessed me being assaulted and let out panicked cries. Our child rushed into the room to protect me, but was kicked away by him. The small figure flung several meters away. In the chaotic study room, at the moment when life was about to end, covered in blood, I looked utterly bewildered. "Why, Sumoting, why would you do this?" He smashed the computer tower viciously onto my head. Blood blossoms bloomed. Before dying, I heard him gnash his teeth and say, "It's all because you convinced me to change my college application back then. Otherwise I could have attended the same university as Jaya. I should have been the one to marry her." So he had been harboring resentment all this time about me persuading him to change his application. He said if I hadn't persuaded him to change his college application choices, he might have ended up with his first love as he wished. How ridiculous. Even combined. Me and our child can't compare to the weight of a single wedding invitation from his first love, sweetheart. In the cramped internet cafe, Sumoding's call brought me back to reality. What do you think of my college application choices? He asked again. I turned my gaze to the faintly glowing computer screen. For every blank space in the application form, he applied to the literature department of that shady vocational college. I blinked and lowered my eyes without showing any emotion. Oh. That's good, Sumoding. This time, you shouldn't hold a grudge against me anymore. 2. Hearing my words, Sumoding froze for a moment, his gaze carrying scrutiny. Baby, do you really think I filled out my college applications well? I stared fixedly at him. Don't ask for my opinion. This is your own matter. Make your own decision. Sumoding awkwardly averted his gaze. Several seconds passed as his finger hovered indecisively over the mouse. Maybe I should fill in a few more alternative choices. Heh. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly, so he knew all along that using his provincial top score results to apply to a diploma mill was a waste. In my past life, I painstakingly advised him not to throw away 18 years of hard work, questioning how he could apply to some obscure vocational college after achieving the provincial top score. He finally agreed to change his application choices. Back then, I thought I had persuaded him, but now it's clear he was just going with the flow. In the end, he resented me for making him change his aspirations, even going so far as to kill me with his own hands. Suddenly, Sumoding's phone rang urgently. He cautiously glanced at me a few times. Hey, yeah, the caller was his first love, Suyu, top student. Which university did you apply to? Can I visit you there later? Suyu's voice was clear and bright, with a rising inflection at the end. She was the school's queen bee, with dyed hair and manicured nails. Yet she had an unexpectedly innocent face. Every day after school, various social figures and troublemakers would pick her up on motorcycles, taking her to race and fight. Hearing Suyu's voice, Sumoding's expression softened. I've filled out my college application, but I'll keep it a secret from you for now. It'll be a surprise later. With that, he finally made up his mind and clicked the mouse. Are you sure you want to submit your preference information? Once submitted, it cannot be modified. He pressed confirm. The web page began to load. After a few seconds, it redirected to the submission success page, with the gray screen indicating it was uneditable. As they were on the phone, my gaze also fell upon my computer screen. My grades weren't as good as Sumoding's, but they still ranked among the top in the province. Back then, my first choice was Tsinghua University's computer science department, but just because I was one rank short. I missed the chance to attend Tsinghua. This has been weighing on my mind for years. As someone who's obsessed with prestigious schools, just one spot away, I really can't accept this. This time, if Sumoding doesn't apply for Tsinghua's computer science program again, would I be able to take that admission spot and get into Tsinghua? 3. After submitting my application, I watched as Sumoding hung up the phone. I began to speak. Sumoding, let's break up. Sumoding and I were childhood neighbors. And I thought I knew him well, but it wasn't until my death in my previous life that I realized his true love was Suyu. He only married me because his mother took a fancy to my family's money. Now that I've been reborn, I just want to stay as far away from him as possible. Sumoding widened his eyes. You're willing to break up with me? In his eyes, I had a crush on him for years, and even the confession came from me. I was practically his lapdog. What's there to be reluctant about? Alright. Then we're officially over. Under Sumoding's stunned gaze, I decisively picked up my bag and left. From afar, I heard his furious roar. Shinyushi, don't you dare regret this. No, he's the one who shouldn't regret it. In the following period, I started looking for computer projects online in advance. In my previous life, my college years were as aimless and drifting as most people's. The year I graduated, I signed with a small company, earning meager wages, working overtime every day, and being subjected to my boss's PUA. That's when I came to my senses, started focusing on practicing coding problems and revising my resume. After several job hops, I finally landed an offer at the same major internet company where Sumoding worked. With my salary doubled, this time, I won't take any detours and will properly plan my life path. In the days after submitting the college applications, the Sumoding household was basking in their glory. Sue's mother, still unaware her son had applied to a diploma mill, kept boasting downstairs about her son being the provincial top scorer. In the neighborhood, many high school seniors are taking the college entrance exams this year. Mrs. Sue deliberately went out of her way to provoke parents whose children failed the college entrance exams. How could someone not even get into a Tier 1 university? Must be an IQ problem. Better take them to the hospital for a checkup. Whenever she saw me, She'd tilt her nose up and glare sideways at me and my parents. How many points did Cece score? Surely not as high as my son. I always say girls just aren't as smart as boys. My dad was so angry he rushed forward to argue, but I grabbed his arm to stop him. I casually brushed it off. Oh yes, Auntie Sue, you're absolutely right about everything. When we got home, I tried to console my parents. Why bother getting angry with such people? Just wait for them to self-destruct. Sure enough. The next day, Sumoding brought Suyu home. Dad, Mom, this is my girlfriend, Mr. and Mrs. Sue turned their heads upon hearing this, just in time to see Suyu wearing smoky makeup, high heels, and stockings, with a cigarette in her hand. The two of them nearly fainted. Sumoding stood in front of Suyu. I genuinely like Yaya, and I hope you can accept her. You, Mother Sue clutched her chest in anger. You want to be with this shameless little vixen. She's not even as good as Shinyushi next door. At least Shinyushi's family owns 5 properties. Sumoding remained stubborn. Shinyushi can't even compare to Yaya's little finger. You don't understand. I've decided that Suyu is the only one for me in this lifetime. Mother Sue angrily beat her chest. You're still young. What do you mean she's the only one? What's wrong with being young? This is the first time I've liked someone so much. Sumoding took a deep breath. Since childhood, I've obeyed you in everything. Can't you let me make my own decision just this once? The group stood in a tense standoff. At that moment, a courier happened to emerge from the elevator. Room 601. There's a package for you. Mother Sue took the document and quickly tore it open. Only a few large characters were written on it. S City Vocational Technical College. 2. Sumoding. She rolled her eyes and fainted on the spot. When she woke up, this mother in her 50s, who always had to outdo others, burst into loud sobs. You unfilial child, have you gone mad? You didn't apply to Tsinghua, you enrolled in some no-name college. Son, you're going to be the death of me. 5. Father Sue squatted on the ground, smoking with a worried frown. Mother Sue cried and hit Sumoding in frustration. The door cracks in the hallway quietly opened, with several neighbors peeking out to watch the drama. Didn't both Tsinghua and Peking University call you? Why on earth did you apply to a vocational college? Mother Sue raised her hand and slapped Suyu twice. It's this little vixen who led you astray, isn't it? I will absolutely never agree to you being together. Break up with her right now. I came back from going out with my parents and happened to witness this scene. Without a word, Sue's mother rushed up to me and shoved me to the ground. Shinyushi, you went to the internet cafe together to fill out the applications. Why didn't you stop my son when you saw him making random choices? My mother helped me up and scolded Sue's mother. What's wrong with you? How is your son's college application any of my daughter's business? Mrs. Sue was panting heavily, glaring at our family with hatred. Coincidentally, the neighbor who had previously been mocked by her for having brain problems if you can't get into a top-tier university had been watching the commotion and finally understood the situation. Having gotten his revenge, he laughed heartily and mocked Mrs. Sue. Old woman, you used to look down on my daughter for only getting into a second-tier college. Now your provincial top-scoring son enrolled in a vocational school. He can't even compare to my daughter. Provoked by these words, Mrs. Sue immediately grabbed Sumoding by the shoulders. I've worked hard to raise you for 18 years. You were supposed to go to Tsinghua. How could you be so foolish? Come on, we're going to the Education Bureau. We'll change your application back. Yet Sumoding remained motionless. Let's go. Come with me right now. Mrs. Sue insisted relentlessly. Sumoding finally raised his head. His face was somber as he pushed past his mother with his shoulder, walking straight to Suyu's side. Tenderly touching the red mark on her face, Mother Sue let out an "io" as she fell onto Father Sue. Supported by Father Sue, she looked at her son who had grown taller than her at some point, vaguely realizing something. What are you trying to do? I'm already 18 years old. I'm an adult now. Sumoding spoke slowly. I just wanted to attend the same school as the person I like. What's wrong with that? Since I could achieve the top provincial exam score, it proves I'm a genius. The path chosen by geniuses is something you ordinary people could never understand. I have my own dreams to pursue, my own path to choose. I hate my stagnant life that's like a pool of dead water. I hate the version of myself that obediently follows your orders. From now on, stay out of my life. Sumoding clenched his fists, sweeping his gaze across everyone around him. His eyes lingered briefly on me before shifting away. One day, he said, I'll prove to you all that my choice was right. Suyu was deeply moved and hugged Sumoding. You actually changed your college preference for me. Yes, I told you I'd give you a surprise. Who told me to like you? Suyu sniffled. I like you too, Sumoding. Sumoding ruffled Suyu's hair and whispered, "Just having you say that makes it all worth it. None of them understand me. Only you do, Suyu. I'll live happily with you and prove them all wrong." Hearing their conversation, Mother Su finally understood that the only reason Sumoding applied to a vocational college was to be with Suyu. Her eyes bulged, bloodshot with rage, could only watch helplessly as Sumoding and Suyu walked away hand in hand, leaving sweetly. Suddenly, the elevator doors opened, and the delivery guy poked his head out again. "There's one more package, I forgot earlier." The courier handed me another document bag and gave me a thumbs up. "Qinghua's admission letter, what an impressive girl." Hearing this, Sumoding looked over in surprise. Mrs. Su even collapsed weakly, sitting on the ground, making incomprehensible hoarse sounds from her throat. Little Tiger bought anti-piracy watermark. Find book robot selection. Little Tiger, reliable, definitely trustworthy, no pitfalls. My parents surrounded me with joy. It seems that without Sumoding as a variable, I indeed became the last person admitted to Tsinghua University's computer science department in our province based on academic ranking. 6. The news of Sumoding changing his college preference for his white moonlight quickly spread among classmates, and even reporters specifically interviewed him about it. On camera, Sumoding held Suyu's hand. "As long as I can be with Yaya, I will never regret it." Suyu's eyes sparkled with pride as she leaned against Sumoding's shoulder, smiling. The class group chat exploded. "Holy crap. The provincial top scorer actually chose a no-name college just for Suyu. She's so damn lucky." Happiness what? Don't you think this is a bit insane? Respect and blessings then. They've already declared themselves a genius. How could we mere mortals understand? On graduation dinner day, Sumoding and Suyu naturally became the center of attention, with everyone whispering about them. Even the homeroom teacher hesitated to speak several times, sighing deeply. At the dining table, I was sitting with my deskmate, chatting quietly. Unexpectedly, Sumoding suddenly grabbed my arm roughly and yanked me up from the chair. "Shinyushi, are you asking for trouble?" In front of all the classmates, Sumoding glared at me fiercely. "What are you talking about?" I pulled my wrist free. Sumoding said, "It wasn't until I went back that day that I realized. You were jealous of me being with Suyu, so you deliberately tattled to my mom about my college application, didn't you? You even spread my business all over the class group chat." Shinyushi, do you like me that much? Are you that desperate? I was so angry I laughed. Are you out of your mind? The reason your mom found out you changed your application was because she received your admission letter, wasn't it? That day your mom made such a huge scene, mocking so many people in the neighborhood about their grades, and you even gave an interview to the reporters. Is it really that strange the news spread to the school? I sneered coldly. Blaming me for something that has absolutely nothing to do with me. Sumoding, don't even try to drag me into this. Get lost. Hearing my words, Sumoding took a step back in disbelief. My deskmate spoke up for me, with a sarcastic tone. "Yeah, you clearly changed your own application choices, so why are you afraid of others talking about it?" The homeroom teacher let out a long sigh. "Sumoding, if you regret it, you can repeat the year. That would still be better than going to a vocational college." But before the homeroom teacher could finish speaking, Sumoding abruptly interrupted. "Mind your own business. You have no idea what I really want. I'm the provincial top scorer. Even if I enroll in a vocational college, I'll still live better than all of you." Grabbing Suyu's hand, he angrily mounted his motorcycle. Before leaving, Suyu stuck out her tongue at us, as if silently boasting, "See. No matter how much you try to persuade him, it's useless. He only loves me." 7. Soon, September arrived. I stepped through the gates of Tsinghua, fulfilling my dream of attending a prestigious university. Having set my goals early, I lived each day with great busyness, attending classes during the day, coding at night, working on open-source projects to polish my resume, assisting professors in the lab. Even every holiday was spent competing in contests. For years passed in a flash. During the winter break of my senior year, I went back home for a visit. Little did I know, I happened to run into Sumoding, who was also returning to his hometown. In his freshman year, he enrolled in that vocational college, became the center of attention, won a substantial scholarship, and along with Suyu, they were practically the talk of the school's literature department. He was quite proud of this. During the summer vacation of his senior year, after being interviewed, many people online criticized him for not being clear-headed. Suyu seized the opportunity to create a dedicated self-media account titled The Daily Life of a Top Scorer and His Girlfriend, documenting their lives. They used the money earned from self-media to rent an apartment off campus and live together. At first, Sumoding intended to study hard in university, but Suyu had no interest in studying at all. She skipped classes every day to hang out with her delinquent friends, frequenting bars, KTVs, and arcades, getting drunk every night and being groped by those friends as they brought her home. This led to numerous arguments between her and Sue Moting. Mind your own business. I never liked studying anyway. Don't you hate being controlled by your parents too? Why are you trying to control me now? Sue Moting was left speechless. The vocational school had a chaotic atmosphere, and Sue Moting, who diligently paid attention in class, was an outlier, often mocked and ostracized by others, so he stopped studying, skipping classes with Suyu to have fun, blending into the crowd. They only pulled all-nighters to cram during finals week before exams. In the first semester of freshman year, Sue Moting still felt somewhat nervous before exams, but when the results came out, he realized that after just casually studying for a few days, he had topped his major, making him take exams even less seriously. When an easy path is laid out before you, it's hard not to choose it. As specialized courses increased, last-minute cramming methods gradually stopped working. Thus, Sue Moting's expectations for his academic performance kept lowering, from initially aiming for top of the class to eventually settling for just passing grades. Not only was he unashamed, but he even bragged about it on social media. Only fools keep working hard. College isn't that big a deal, just don't fail. Over these 4 years, Mrs. Sue initially refused to accept reality, constantly urging Sue Moting to retake the college entrance exams, but Sue Moting never came home during holidays and even cut off contact with his family, forcing Mrs. Sue to finally compromise. So this year, Sue Moting finally returned home for a visit, after 4 years apart. At first, we couldn't even recognize each other. Sue Moting's body had swollen noticeably, his back hunched, neck protruding forward, with Suyu's initials tattooed on his arm. Dark circles were evident under his eyes as he held a cigarette between his lips. The scholarly air of his 18-year-old self had completely vanished, replaced by a somewhat greasy demeanor. Meanwhile, during my free time at university, I began learning about makeup, skincare, and fashion, regularly hitting the gym to lose weight and tone up. From originally being just somewhat pretty, I developed into what could now be considered a minor beauty. When Sue Moting saw me, I didn't miss that flash of admiration in his eyes. Shinyushi, seeing me, Suyu immediately stood guard defensively in front of Sue Moting. Perhaps due to years of irregular sleep and alcoholism, her face had sagged. That once proud, innocent face of hers was now marked by exhaustion, with deep nasolabial folds that made her appear somewhat harsh despite her young age. 8. We shared the same taxi home from the high-speed rail station. On the way back, Suyu suddenly grabbed my wrist, glaring at my Bulgari bracelet with wary eyes. This bracelet costs over 10,000 yuan. How could you possibly afford it? You're wearing a fake, aren't you? I gave her a cool glance. From my junior year last year until now, I'd been interning at well-known internet companies. Combined with my scholarships over the years and project shares from the lab, I've saved at least over 200,000 yuan. It's just buying a bracelet, why bother getting a fake one? But seeing the obvious jealousy in Suyu's eyes, I still chimed in. Right, a fake, bought from a street stall for 10 bucks. Suyu immediately became smug. I knew you couldn't afford the real one. At this moment, Sue Moting in the front row answered a phone call, apparently from his mother. Mom, don't worry. I'm definitely going to pass the postgraduate entrance exam this time. I'll apply to Tsinghua University for sure. From his words, I learned that Sue Moting wanted to pursue graduate studies at Tsinghua University and had just taken the entrance exam this year. Before getting off the car, Sue Moting winked at me. Shinyushi, see you at Tsinghua. I twitched the corner of my mouth and pulled my suitcase upstairs expressionlessly. During the winter vacation, the Sue Moting family next door lived quite harmoniously. After Sue Moting returned home, his mother bustled about with a superior attitude, showing off everywhere in the neighborhood. My top-scoring son is back home, and this time he's definitely going to Tsinghua for grad school. I heard your daughter is studying at a non-prestigious university. Honestly, what's the point? She might as well go home and have babies. On the day the grad school exam results were released, Sue's mother urged Sue Moting to check his scores first thing in the morning. Hurry up and check, son. Let's see how many points you scored. Sue Moting was forcibly dragged out of bed, impatiently pushing his mother away as he reached for his phone with bare arms. Enter your exam admission number and ID card number, then click search. A few seconds later, a scream echoed through the room. Mother Gu leaned shakily against the wall. What? How could you only score a little over 200 points? Sue Moting's hand holding the phone was also trembling slightly. He pulled out a cigarette and shouted at Mrs. Sue. "Stop making such a racket, shut up." Then he muttered nervously, "I was the top scorer in the province, I should have a bright future." On the same day, the girl whom Sue's mother had mocked 4 years ago for attending a second-tier university knocked on my door. She smiled shyly at me and said she was also taking the postgraduate entrance exam this year. She had just checked her scores and found she could get into Tsinghua. So she came to ask me about some specialized course knowledge at Tsinghua. I warmly welcomed her. Hard work is the wisest investment a person can make. After winter break, I returned to school. From fragmented conversations during phone calls with my parents, I learned that Su Moding failed the postgraduate entrance exam and would start job hunting. At first, he scoffed and said, "What's so hard about finding a job? I was the top scorer in the national college entrance exam." Until reality taught him a lesson, it was already difficult for literature majors to find jobs, and he often carried himself with the superior attitude of being a top exam scorer. Even when interviewing for an ordinary clerical position, he demanded a monthly salary of 10,000 yuan. Naturally, no one would hire him. Many company HRs would end the interview immediately upon hearing the name of his obscure vocational school, without even letting him finish speaking. "Sorry, but we prioritize graduates from 985 and 211 universities for this position." "But I was the top scorer in the college entrance exam." The HR seemed amused. "Oh, so what if you were the top scorer in the college entrance exams? Didn't you still graduate from some no-name university?" Throughout the spring recruitment season, Su Moding ran around every day, constantly going to interviews only to be rejected, clutching his backpack on the subway while questioning his life choices. It wasn't until this moment that he realized how much damage his haphazardly filled college applications and aimless university life had done to his future. But he quickly pulled himself together again. 9. Just failed the postgraduate entrance exam and can't find a job, that's all. At least he still has Suyu. Su Moding then remembered the self-media account Daily Life of the college entrance exam top scorer and his girlfriend, created by Suyu. This account earned him tens of thousands of yuan during the 2 months of summer vacation. After a long hiatus, he and Suyu started updating again, but each video only had a few hundred or dozen views. He angrily posted a rant on social media, blaming the short video platform for not giving him traffic. Below was a comment from one of his fans: "To be brutally honest, your videos offer nothing new beyond the gimmick of being a top college entrance exam scorer. They're overly long, boring, unedited, and completely lack appeal in today's fast-paced era of viral short videos." Su Moding directly exposed this account and blocked it. At this point, he remembered his identity as a top scorer again and started a live stream. 2024 College Entrance Exam Top Scorer Solves Exam Questions Online. This time, he finally found the right path. When the baby-faced high school student took out the exercise and asked him for the solution, he was surprised to find that he had completely forgotten the knowledge from 4 years ago, not to mention that over the past 4 years, the types of questions and exam scope for the college entrance exam have undergone significant changes. He stammered, his face turning red, and eventually ended the live stream. Those who had once followed him could only sigh in disappointment. Soon after, June arrived. "I graduated from Tsinghua University with outstanding grades. This time, I successfully converted my internship into a full-time position and joined the internet company that I had only managed to enter after several job changes in my previous life. Having interned for 2 years, the department head trusted my abilities and often introduced me to superiors and clients. This is Shin Yushi, a Tsinghua graduate with excellent capabilities. With the minister's assistance, I joined the company's new billion-dollar investment project team the year I graduated, allowing me to fully realize my ambitions." As for Su Moding, I heard he finally faced reality and found a clerical job with Suyu paying a monthly salary of 2,000. I just didn't expect his company to be located near mine. That day after finishing dinner after work, I went shopping at the mall. Walking into the luxury store, I wanted to buy a bag for my mom. Just then, I happened to run into Su Moding and Suyu. Suyu was holding a cup of cheap bubble tea, peering enviously through the luxury store's display window when she happened to see the sales associate respectfully handing the bag to me. Su Moding stood behind Suyu carrying an old canvas bag, looking at me with complicated emotions. After making the payment, I walked out of the store but was stopped by Suyu. You bought the real thing. The bracelet you bought last time was genuine too. Don't touch me." I took a step back and shook off her hand. The saleswoman inside the store saw me being pulled by Suyu and quickly called security. Surrounded by security guards, Suyu turned her head and shouted at Su Moding, "I want this bag too." if Shinyushi can buy it, why can't I? Sumoding rubbed his temples. Our money is saved for the wedding, didn't you say? I don't care, I want this bag. In the end, Sumoding exhausted his bank card balance and even took out an installment loan before finally purchasing that bag. Suyu smiled happily. Sumoding looked at the red negative balance on his phone, his face showing distress and exhaustion. And I just watched from afar. How ironic, Sumoding. In our past life, our combined annual income was nearly $1 million, living comfortably, yet you were never satisfied, always pining for Suyu. I'd like to ask, are you content with your life now? 10. Suyu didn't last long in her clerical job. Because of her bad temper, she offended the boss's wife, and Sumoding was also fired along with her. They started looking for jobs again. Without the status of fresh graduates, both of them were devastated by the rejection messages from interviews. They couldn't find jobs for a whole year, and eventually gave up, spending their days lying in the rented apartment ordering takeout, occasionally going out with some troublemaker friends they met at bars to mooch meals. Those hooligan friends are no good people. One day they suggested taking Sumoding and Suyu for some excitement. Suyu readily agreed, but they didn't expect the so-called excitement to be robbery. Those hoodlums rode motorcycles as speed demons, rampaging and robbing recklessly on the dark city streets and remote roads. Being an accomplice to robbery for the first time, Sumoding was scared out of his wits, but thrill-seeking Suyu clapped her hands in delight, excitedly counting and recounting the few thousand yuan she got as her share. At first, Sumoding was still trembling with fear. Holed up in the rental apartment all day, terrified that the police would come knocking, but days passed, then a week, then a month, and everything remained peaceful. So, on yet another night when the landlord came demanding rent, Sumoding put on his helmet, mounted the motorcycle, and had Suyu sit behind him. Come on, let's go rob someone too. They chose a road where the surveillance cameras were broken. At 3 a.m., a middle-aged woman wearing a mask appeared under the streetlight. The motorcycle engine roared loudly. Sumoding's palms sweated as he gripped the handlebars, his adrenaline surging. He felt a bit dizzy, with some ringing in his ears. Everything around him seemed to be spinning wildly. When Suyu reached out to snatch the woman's bag, everything reached its peak. Help, someone's robbing me, help. Sumoding didn't expect the woman to struggle so violently, even biting Suyu's arm hard with her teeth, seeing Suyu injured. Sumoding jumped out of the car and frantically punched and kicked the woman. In pain, the woman released Suyu's arm, as if seeing something. The woman's pupils suddenly contracted and she stopped resisting. Bang, 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 sticky blood splattered. Sumoding felt like he couldn't stop himself. It wasn't until Suyu tightly grabbed him, her fingers digging deep into his flesh, that he finally snapped out of it. Only then did he realize that within just a few minutes, his forehead was completely drenched in sweat, and even his helmet had fallen off during the fight. He told Suyu to take the woman's bag. He himself slowly removed the man's mask. In that instant, the world fell into complete silence. Sumoding's eyes widened in horror, and after a few seconds of stunned silence, he uttered in disbelief, Mom, quick, call an ambulance. 11. Mother Sue traveled thousands of miles to visit her son in an unfamiliar city. To save money, she bought a night train ticket. Little did she expect to be robbed and severely beaten by her own son, leaving her unconscious in the hospital. Sumoding wept bitterly in the hospital. Suyu held his hand. It's okay, at least you still have me. This wasn't the first time Sumoding had heard those words. When he filled his college application with a diploma mill, he consoled himself that at least he still had Suyu. When he skipped university lectures to wander bars and arcades with Suyu, he comforted himself that at least he still had her. When he saw his neighbor Shinyushi graduate from Tsinghua University, work at an internet company, and live a glamorous life while he couldn't find a job, he comforted himself that at least he still had Suyu. But now, hearing these words, he was truly getting tired. He silently pushed away Suyu's hand. The hospital started pressing him to pay the fees. He borrowed money everywhere and also asked Suyu for help. Suyu agreed verbally, but that night, separated by a door, he heard Suyu say disdainfully, Yeah, I'm already tired of playing with him. What does he have besides being the top scorer in the college entrance exams? Just a down-and-out dog who can't even find a job, and he's boring too. Sumoding burst into the room. On the other end of the phone was the questioning shout of a hoodlum friend. Meanwhile, Suyu herself was being pinned to the bed with Sumoding's hand around her neck. Her face turned crimson as she struggled with her limbs flailing in the air. Sumoding's eyes were red as he spoke word by word. You promised you'd stay by my side forever. Then, come to hell with me. Sumoding had completely lost his mind. I don't know how he managed to find me at this moment, in the pouring rain. He stood drenched below our company building, looking up at the corporate logo. In his previous life, he was a Tsinghua computer science graduate who joined this company right after graduation, with a bright future ahead. The corner of his mouth twitched nervously, unclear whether it was a sob or a smile. A raindrop trailed from the corner of his eye, holding the coffee I'd just bought downstairs. I was heading to a meeting when he called out to me, "Shinyushi, why?" His eyes were filled with malice and hatred. "Why didn't you help me change my application this time?" He rushed at me with a knife. 12, bang, the coffee in my hand fell, its dark liquid mixing with rainwater and flowing into the city's sewers. I pinned him to the ground and shouted for security. In this life, I've maintained a fitness routine since college and even took up judo in my spare time. The perpetually indulgent sumoting is no match for me at all. I leaned close to his ear and whispered softly, "What's wrong? Isn't this exactly what you wanted?" Sumoting stared at me, his face full of disbelief. You've been reborn too," I simply said calmly. "In our previous life, I advised you to change your aspirations, and you wanted to kill me. In this life, I won't advise you to change your aspirations, yet you still want to kill me." Sumoting, tell me yourself. Are you out of your mind? I don't owe you anything. As more and more people gathered around, my other colleagues also came to help. Sumoting suddenly pushed me away with force, sprinted off, and disappeared into the heavy rain. A colleague came up to check on me and asked, "Are you okay? Can you still go to the interview later?" I swept my bangs back and said, "No problem. I've now been promoted to team leader at the company, with an annual salary increase to 600,000. The projects under my leadership continue to expand, requiring constant hiring. On my desk lies a thick stack of candidate resumes, from Cambridge and Harvard to Tsinghua, Peking, and Zhejiang University. Everything from masters to PhDs is available. Yes, Sumoting looks down on academic qualifications, but he doesn't know that sometimes society can be this cruel. He smashed the computer case hard onto my head. Later, I heard from my mom that Sumoting had been arrested. It turned out that after personally killing Suyu, he obtained a fake ID and returned to his hometown to work as a food delivery rider. While delivering food, one of his orders happened to be sent to our old high school. At first, he didn't even recognize it was our alma mater. After all these years, the high school had undergone expansion and renovations, and the main gate had completely changed its appearance. He just impatiently tugged at his sticky, foul-smelling delivery rider uniform, scolding the student for being too slow to pick up the takeout. But unexpectedly, as soon as he stepped onto his motorcycle, he heard the familiar school bell ring behind him. Unchanged after all these years, in that instant, Sumoting seemed frozen in place. The sweltering June heat, pierced by the shrill cries of cicadas, the clear sound of reading voices faintly drifted from the classroom windows. He suddenly leaped off his motorcycle, staggering and brushing past several pedestrians' shoulders, his trembling hands pressing against the tall black iron gate, slowly removing his sweat-drenched helmet. Through the gaps in the iron gate, Sumoting clearly saw his own name displayed on the long honor roll in the schoolyard. Sumoting, 732 points, 2024 provincial top scorer. The photo showed his 18-year-old self, full of vigor, smiling shyly with pursed lips. The security guard in the gatehouse looked over in surprise. They saw this unfamiliar young man who seemed to recall all the sorrows in the world, weeping uncontrollably. Upon closer inspection, he realized this person not only bore some resemblance to the wanted criminal recently featured on TV, but was also the spitting image of that year's top scholar on the honor roll. It said that when the police arrived, Sumoting neither fled nor hid, merely chuckling softly to himself, laughing at his own pitiful life. Later, he was sentenced to life imprisonment for murder. But none of this concerns me anymore. The end. Story 2. After being reborn, I gave up competing with Lu Yuanshan's childhood sweetheart for a spot in the factory. He gave half of his salary to his childhood sweetheart, and I didn't stop him. While he was accompanying his childhood sweetheart in the hospital during childbirth, I had already bought a ticket to go south. Finally, he said he would agree to marry me as long as I adopted the child of his childhood sweetheart. I turned around and boarded the train to Guangzhou. In this life, I not only want great wealth and prosperity, I also want to completely avoid the miserable fate of marrying Lu Yuanshan in my previous life. 1. Looking at the layoff notice handed to me by the workshop director, I felt a moment of dizziness. Just a second ago, I was lying alone in the hospital bed, filled with resentment and unwillingness. The disdainful look in Lu Yuanshan's eyes as he left kept replaying in my mind. The next second, I was back 25 years ago, Xiao Wen, the factory's performance isn't good, and there's nothing I can do, the director said, my eyes stung with sadness. I had actually returned to my youth. I took the thin piece of paper with trembling hands and glanced down at it. The few words on it declared that I had lost my stable job. I'm better than Ran Shumian in all assessments. Is it Lu Yuanshan's idea to lay me off? My voice betrayed no emotion, although I already knew the answer. I still asked the question. The director looked feel difficult and let out a sigh. Xiao Wen, the list hasn't been officially announced yet. Why don't you go home and talk to Director Lu again? The image of Lu Yuanshan's face, always as cold as ice towards me, flashed in my mind. Talk to him. He wouldn't even want to listen to a single extra word from me. This was his decision after all. In his eyes, I was nothing but a village woman who didn't even graduate from high school. I only got a job in the factory thanks to the favor my father had done for his family, and he was the outstanding and promising young Director Lu. If my father hadn't saved Lu Yuanshan's father, who had fallen off a cliff many years ago, our lives would have never intersected. The person he recognized as worthy of standing beside him was his childhood sweetheart, Ran Shumian, never me. Thinking of this, I gave a calm smile. Director, I accept the layoff. My sudden acceptance stunned the director. It seemed he didn't expect me to accept the result so easily. Xiao Wen, aren't you going to fight for it? Once you leave, there's no going back. I shook my head stubbornly and said briskly, no need, the outside world is much broader. The director looked at me, not understanding, his eyes full of confusion. The factory is better than the outside. Our factory will surely pull through sooner or later. He didn't know that in 2 years, this place would undergo earth-shattering changes. And this layoff was just the beginning of the tide. I took the layoff notice and went to pack my things. Before leaving the factory, looking at the layoff list posted on the bulletin board, I smiled with relief. Too, in my previous life, I used all means to compete for this spot to stay in the factory. I didn't want to lose this job that I relied on to make a living. Even more, I didn't want to lose the only symbol of identity that could rival Ran Shumian's. This job was one of the few things that allowed me to hold my head up in front of Lu Yuanshan. Lu Yuanshan was every girl's dream lover, tall, handsome, from a good family, and with an outstanding temperament, and I managed to get engaged to him thanks to the kindness my father had shown his family. I had no reason to give him up to someone else. In my previous life, I managed to stay in the factory by squeezing out Ran Shumian, who had somehow gotten pregnant, thanks to my good work performance. However, from then on, Lu Yuanshan became even colder towards me. Even after we got married under the urging of Uncle Lu, he never spent the night at home and often stayed in the factory dormitory. We never shared a bed except for the night of our wedding when he was drunk. I could only catch a fleeting glimpse of his tall figure when the factory held general staff meetings. 5 years passed like this. And then he suddenly brought back a boy who was over 5 years old. He said the boy was an orphan of a friend. Since we didn't have children of our own, we adopted the boy. I treated the boy as my own and took care of him wholeheartedly. I gave him everything he wanted, all the delicious food and nice things. But his favorite person was still Lu Yuanshan. Every year, he looked forward to going to his father during the summer vacation and traveling with him. Ridiculously, it wasn't until the end of my life that I found out, over the past 25 years, my husband, who only ever appeared on our marriage certificate, spent all his vacations with Ran Shumian in Guangzhou. It turned out that after being laid off, Ran Shumian caught up with the wave of reform and opening up. Being busy with work, she had no time to take care of the child, so she entrusted the child to Lu Yuanshan, while I was getting up early and going to bed late to take care of their child. They went to many places that I had only seen on TV. They saw the sea together, climbed Mount Tai together, and visited Lingyin Temple together, while my world was always just the factory, home, the assembly line, and the kitchen. It was only about taking care of other people's children and looking after the elderly Uncle Lu. When I saw those photo albums full of memories in Lu Yuanshan's office, I fell ill and could no longer get out of bed. I finally understood what nothing is more sorrowful than the death of the heart meant. I thought that even though Lu Yuanshan was cold to me, he still regarded me as his wife. When he was desperately running around for the factory's performance, I took care of everything at home for him. Surely he would remember my kindness in his heart, even though the neighbors were all sympathizing with me, pitied me, talked about me, taunted me. They said I had a husband but lived as if I didn't. Some people even used me as a negative example to teach their daughters, saying that this was what happened when you were with a man who didn't love you. I never paid attention to these words and never regretted my choices. But at the end of my life, lying in bed, I regretted it. Lu Yuanchen and the child I raised came to visit me. Lu Yuanchen came to fulfill his last obligation as a husband, to prepare for my funeral in advance. And the child I raised asked me softly in my ear, "Mom, where did you put your jewelry and silver dollars?" I endured the pain, opened my cloudy eyes, and squeezed out a hoarse voice from my throat, "Get out, I'm not your mother." He came to see me because he wanted my inheritance. Even if I donated everything, I wouldn't leave him a single cent. As early as the day I was pronounced dead, I had donated all my inheritance, but even so, at the last moment of my life, I still regretted my past decisions. Why was I so obsessed with Lu Yuanchen? He was just a man, not worth sacrificing my otherwise wonderful life. 3. Before I got home, I was stopped by my neighbor, Sister Lu, at the entrance of the alley. Her round face was full of envy. "Xiaomei, you're so lucky. Director Lu carried a TV set home today. Hurry up and go home to have a look." As she spoke, Sister Lu grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the alley. She clearly also wanted to see the TV as soon as possible. I originally wanted to tell her not to follow, because I knew very well the TV would definitely not be at the home where Lu Yuanchen and I lived. When my parents passed away, the factory took back the house, and I had to wait for a new one to be allocated. Because I had nowhere to live, Uncle Lu suggested that I move in with Lu Yuanchen. Looking at Sister Lu's excited eyes, I changed my mind. I let her push me back home. This house had the best layout in the alley, with 2 bedrooms and a living room, spacious and bright. Lu Yuanchen often stayed at the factory and didn't come back every day. At the moment, he wasn't at home, and of course, there was no brand new TV in the living room. Sister Lu looked around and gave me a meaningful look towards the bedroom where I lived. "Xiaomei, is the TV in your room?" Before I could answer, a soft and sweet voice from next door answered Sister Lu, "Brother Yuanchen, you're so kind. With this TV, I can learn English." 4. As soon as Sister Lu heard this, she widened her eyes and dragged me to push open the gate of the next door courtyard. This was the first time I saw Lu Yuanchen after being reborn. He had his back to me, quietly letting Ran Shumian wipe the sweat from his forehead. When she saw me at the door, Ran Shumian withdrew her hand, the corners of her mouth curling slightly. "Sister-in-law is back. Brother Yuanchen gave me a TV. I'll cook tonight to thank you both." Ran Shumian was very beautiful, with snow-white skin and particularly charming eyes. She was wearing a loose light yellow Dacron shirt. The collar of the shirt was slightly open, revealing her prominent collarbones, which made people's minds wander. Her limbs were still slender, but her belly was slightly rounded. I didn't respond to her, but Sister Lu couldn't hold back. She pointed at the TV on the table and asked, "Wow. I thought Director Lu bought this precious TV for his fiancée." Lu Yuanchen had already turned around. His gaze towards me was completely indifferent. "What does she need a TV for? Shumian is preparing for the college entrance examination. She needs it more." Ran Shumian looked up at the man in front of her, her eyes burning with passion. Sister Lu looked at me in surprise, her eyes urging me to say something. I looked at the brand new TV and indeed didn't have much desire for it. However, I wasn't going to let Ran Shumian have it so easily either. "Don't I need to take the college entrance examination more? I also need this TV." He knew very well that I would be laid off, so I actually needed the college entrance examination more than Ran Shumian. I looked straight into Lu Yuanchen's eyes, and he guiltily averted his gaze. "Wait a little longer. I'll buy you one when I get my next month's salary." "Do you have any extra TV purchase tickets?" I retorted. Lu Yuanchen opened his mouth but didn't say anything. TV purchase tickets were in short supply. Even if you had money, you couldn't buy a TV without a ticket. Finally, under Ran Shumian's unwilling gaze, with her lower lip tightly bitten, Lu Yuanchen moved the TV back home. "Shumian, leave it to me. I'll get you another one." Ran Shumian saw him to the door and said with a sullen face, "Sister-in-law isn't happy that you gave me something. Don't spend money on me in the future. If I can't get into college, it's just my bad luck." With that, she slammed the courtyard gate shut. When we got home, Lu Yuanchen's face was so gloomy that it seemed like ink could drip from it. "You had to fight for even a TV. Now are you satisfied?" I ignored him and focused on the news broadcast on TV. Business opportunities were hidden within. Seeing that I didn't respond, Lu Yuanchen stood in front of the TV, blocking the screen. "Now that you've gotten the TV, don't compete with Shumian for the spot to stay in the factory." 5. This sentence finally piqued my interest. I hadn't even confronted him about ordering my layoff, and he brought it up on his own. "Then I'd like to ask you, Director Lu, I'm better than Ran Shumian in all assessments. Why should I be the one to be laid off?" Lu Yuanchen frowned and shook his head at me. "You tell me why." just because you're engaged to me, if you're laid off, I can support you. Shumian is a woman. And she's pregnant, what would she do if she's laid off? How touching his words were. He could support me, but in fact, with my own abilities, I didn't need anyone to support me. I could be self-sufficient, yet he stepped in and made me lose my job, forcing me to rely on others. I didn't want to argue with him anymore. It was completely pointless. Seeing that I didn't respond, his furrowed brows relaxed slightly. From next month on, I'll give you half of my salary. And I'll lend the other half to Shumian. She needs to get more nutrition now. I sneered inwardly but still kept a poker face. Lu Yuanchen continued, we'll just tighten our belts for a few months. It'll be better once she gives birth. I thought about it, and the words of protest that came to my lips were swallowed back down. There was no point in saying more. He said it was a loan, but how could he bear to let Ran Shumian pay it back? Moreover, after she gave birth, she would need to recuperate and raise the child. I'm afraid that half of the salary would never be paid back. However, that was his own willing choice, and it had nothing to do with me anymore. Whatever. These 3 words expressed my attitude. A rare smile appeared on Lu Yuanchen's usually cold face. I'm glad you understand. Shumian and I grew up together. I can't just stand by and watch her suffer. If you care about her so much, why don't you care about who the father of the child in her belly is? I still looked at the TV without even raising my eyelids as I asked. Lu Yuanchen seemed to have been suddenly hit where it hurt, and his voice suddenly grew louder. She was bullied. Don't ever mention this again. 6. Having lost my job, the most important thing now was to make money. When the neighbors heard that I had been laid off, they all came to comfort me. Don't worry, Director Lu can support the family on his own. Lu Yuanchen also kept his word and gave me half of his salary the next day. Then he threw himself into Ran Shumian's courtyard. But I'd rather beg for food than rely on Lu Yuanchen. Over the not-too-high courtyard wall, Ran Shumian's sweet voice drifted over from time to time. Brother Yuanchen, cut me some fruit. Brother Yuanchen, my back is a little sore. Hang up the clothes for me. Brother Yuanchen, I don't want to go to the factory tomorrow. Can you tell the workshop director for me? Lu Yuanchen never complained. The sound of his footsteps going in and out of the courtyard could be heard. I ignored it and focused on tidying up my clothes. Once I found a place to live, I would move out of here sooner or later. Seeing the 2 stacks of brand new clothes at the back of the wardrobe, a pang of sadness still welled up in my otherwise calm heart. I had bought all the fabric with my own money and made these clothes for Lu Yuanchen using a sewing machine. I made 1 piece a month. And in 2 years, I had made about 20 pieces. They lay quietly in the wardrobe, just as they had when I first gave them to Lu Yuanchen. Not a single one had been touched. What a waste. I might as well sell them on the black market. Suddenly, an idea flashed through my mind. In my previous life, not long after I married Lu Yuanchen, the Shaoqing shirt became popular all over the country. That kind of shirt with a turnover collar and a cinched waist soon became in short supply. I could make some first and sell them on the black market to preemptively occupy this market. With this thought in mind, I got to work right away and took out the tin box by my bedside. Inside were several cloth purchase tickets that I had saved for making clothes for Lu Yuanchen, as well as a savings book. The 1,000 yuan in the passbook was all the savings I had left. After spending dozens of yuan on buying fabric, I was busy for several days, working vigorously in front of the sewing machine. I didn't notice Lu Yuanchen appearing at my bedroom door at all. Isn't there any dinner at home? At this time usually, he would be having dinner with Ran Shumian next door. I was busy making clothes and just had a few bites to eat casually. I didn't prepare his meal at all. He looked at the pile of colorful fabrics in front of me with dissatisfaction. Now that you're not working, can't you even cook properly? Suddenly being questioned, I didn't stop my sewing work and retorted, go next door if you want to eat. There's none here. Hearing the bluntness in my words, he was taken aback for a moment, then changed the topic. Aren't you preparing for the college entrance examination? Why do you still have the leisure to make clothes? His tone was reproachful and disdainful. The college entrance examination was just an excuse for me not to give the TV to Ran Shumian for free. In my previous life, I also tried to take the college entrance examination, but I really wasn't cut out for studying. One should have self-awareness. I believed that with my own hands, I wouldn't starve myself. I stopped what I was doing and put a finger to my lips. Shoo, don't you hear? The person next door seems to have fallen. I hope the baby in her belly isn't hurt. Even though it was completely quiet next door, Lu Yuanchen immediately stood up. He listened intently for a moment, then turned and ran out. But after a while, he came back. I couldn't figure out why he kept coming to me today. This would have been impossible in the past. The next moment, he stammered and answered my question. My dad called today. After hearing that you were laid off, he wants me to marry you next month. I had originally planned to go and talk to Uncle Lou about calling off the engagement in person after a while. Unexpectedly, I waited for his urging to get married first. I remained silent, waiting for the conditions he would propose next. Sure enough, he turned his head away and avoided looking into my eyes as he continued, "Can you go and tell my dad that we'll get married next year? I really don't have the time right now." Of course he didn't have the time. He was busy with work every day and also busy taking care of the pregnant woman. He really didn't have time to get married. I nodded. "I'll go and make things clear to Uncle Lou tomorrow." Hearing my answer, Lu Yuanshan seemed to heave a sigh of relief, and the gloom on his face disappeared in an instant. Having settled things with me, he immediately turned and left with brisk steps. Then, the creaking sound of the courtyard door opening and closing came from next door, in the room alone. Under the dim light, I sneered. I would go to see Uncle Lou, however, not to postpone the marriage, but to completely get rid of you. Lu Yuanshan. 7. The next day, I got up before dawn. You had to go early to the black market. It would be too late if you went later. After simply cooking myself a bowl of millet porridge, I carried my bundle on my back. Inside were the more than 20 men's clothes that Lu Yuanshan had never worn, as well as the 10 women's clothes I had just made, before going out. I also put the jade bracelet that the Lu family gave me during the engagement into the bundle. As soon as I opened the door and walked out, I unexpectedly ran into Lu Yuanshan, who had just returned home, unprecedentedly. He was holding a bamboo steamer of buns and a bowl of millet porridge in his hands. When he saw me carrying a bundle and about to go out, he froze in place. "It's so early, where are you going?" I also didn't know what he was doing at home so early. He usually didn't have breakfast with me at home. He always went to eat at Ran Shumian's place, so I just replied indifferently, "I have something to do," and continued walking out. Behind me came the clear sound of the porcelain bowl being placed on the table, and then Lu Yuanshan grabbed my wrist. "What could you possibly have to do so early? Sit down and have breakfast first." Shumian made it early in the morning. I withdrew my hand, which he was gripping tightly, and stubbornly didn't sit down. Seeing that I was still standing, Lu Yuanshan sighed. "I thought about it last night. I'm not relieved leaving you to see my dad alone. Let's go together after breakfast." Subconsciously, I retorted, "What are you not relieved about? Afraid that I'll change my mind at the last minute?" Lu Yuanshan's pupils trembled, and he avoided my gaze as he said softly, "No. I'm worried that you won't be able to find him. I'll take you there." In the past 2 years, I had delivered meals to Uncle Lou countless times. He knew this very well, yet at this moment, he was worried that I wouldn't be able to find the place. Obviously, Ran Shumian had said something to him last night, making him worry that I would change my mind, which was why he wanted to go with me. Seeing that the sky was getting lighter and lighter, I became anxious. Now, I didn't have the time to tangle with him here, so, I said expressionlessly, "No need, I'll go by myself. If you're not relieved about me, you can ask your dad yourself after I come back." With that, I strode out of the house without looking back. The person behind me was still shouting, "Aren't you going to have breakfast either?" I ignored him. I wasn't a stray dog on the street. I wouldn't fawn over him just because he threw a bone when he was in a good mood. On the way to the black market, I carefully avoided the early risers and groped my way to the black market trading site. It was a hidden alley that few people came to on ordinary days, but at this moment, there were already several people leaning against the wall, sizing up everyone who stepped into the alley with shrewd eyes. I nervously hugged the bundle in front of my chest. However, an hour later, when the sky began to turn fish belly white, all my nervousness turned into joy. The clothes I brought were sold out quickly. The men's clothes I made for Lu Yuanshan were intended to be sold at a low price, so they were snapped up immediately, and although the beautiful women's clothes were a bit more expensive, they were still very popular. In the end, I earned a total of 150 yuan, which was almost as much as I had saved in half a year. The excitement made me forget the trouble of having to face Uncle Lou soon. It wasn't until I stood in front of his office that my mind started working overtime to organize my words. Uncle Lou was a man who valued friendship and loyalty. He personally arranged this engagement, hoping that Lu Yuanshan and I would be happy. He treated me like his own daughter. Unfortunately, in this life, I didn't want to be his daughter-in-law anymore. 8. I knocked on the office door, and a steady and imposing voice came from inside. "Come in." I pushed the door open and walked in slowly. When Uncle Lou looked up and saw it was me, a smile spread across his wrinkled face. This was the warmest smile I had seen since my parents passed away. But when I explained my intention of calling off the engagement, the smile disappeared and was replaced by extreme anger. Every wrinkle on his serious face was trembling. This unfilial son, did he send you? He got you laid off and now wants to break off the engagement. Xiaomei, don't worry. I'll make him kneel and apologize to you and marry you immediately. I smiled faintly and shook my head. Uncle Lu, I don't want to marry him. Uncle Lu was stunned. He couldn't have imagined that I didn't want to marry Lu Yuanchen. It was clear that in his heart, he also thought that I was punching above my weight by marrying Lu Yuanchen. Xiaomei, are you serious? I smiled calmly. I don't want to live here anymore. I want to go and see the south. If I get married, I won't be free. Uncle Lu, you won't force me to stay, will you? Uncle Lu looked at me in silence. A hint of doubt in his eyes, but after a moment, he nodded slowly. As if in understanding, I knew very well that if I said it was because of Lu Yuanchen that I wanted to call off the engagement, Uncle Lu would make us get married even if he had to break his son's legs. But if I said it was my own wish not to marry, then he would respect my decision. Seeing Uncle Lu nod, I quickly took out the jade bracelet from the bundle and handed it to him solemnly. Uncle Lu, I'm returning this bracelet to you. I also have another favor to ask. Can I stay in that house for a while? I'll move out soon. Also, I want to tell him about the broken engagement in person. There was nothing but regret and guilt in Uncle Lu's eyes, and he readily agreed. All right, don't worry about the house. From now on, it's your home. I smiled faintly and kept silent. How could a place with Lu Yuanchen in it be a home? 9. After a busy day, I got home a little after 8 o'clock. The house was pitch black, while the lights next door were bright. I pushed open the door to my room, put down the bundle, and just turned on the light when the courtyard door creaked open. You're back. Did you see my dad today? I didn't turn around and continued calculating accounts on the notebook with a pen and paper. When I had just parted ways with Uncle Lu, he stuffed 500 yuan and a piece of paper into my hand. The paper had a name and an address written on it. He said it was an old friend of his who was now in Guangzhou. I could contact him when I got there. Now, including all my savings, as long as I made some more money through the black market, I could go to Guangzhou. An indescribable excitement welled up in my heart, and the corners of my mouth involuntarily turned up. I didn't notice at all that Lu Yuanchen had already sat down next to me and had been looking at me. When I looked up, I met his somewhat dazed expression. When he saw me looking up, he immediately averted his gaze and furrowed his brows slightly. Didn't you hear what I said? Did you see my dad today? I said everything that needed to be said. Your dad agreed, I said indifferently. Lu Yuanchen's expression relaxed a lot, and he nodded. I'm sorry to have wronged you this time. I'll definitely make it up to you after Shumian gives birth. As soon as he finished speaking, as if on cue, Ran Shumian came in, supporting her waist. When she saw Lu Yuanchen sitting close to me, she immediately pouted. Brother Yuanchen, why haven't you come back yet? The word back was really funny. This was originally Lu Yuanchen's home, but he couldn't stay here for long. Why did you get up? Be careful. Lu Yuanchen stood up to help her. After settling her firmly on the wooden chair padded with a quilt, he sat back on the chair next to me. After sitting down, Ran Shumian looked around the room. When she saw the fabric next to the sewing machine, her eyes lit up. Sister-in-law, this fabric is so beautiful. Are you making clothes? Lu Yuanchen also chimed in. I was going to ask you the same thing. What are you doing buying so much fabric? It's a waste. I didn't say a word and just silently covered the colorful fabrics with a white cloth. But Ran Shumian still stared at the fabrics. Brother Yuanchen, now that my belly is big, I don't have any suitable clothes to wear. Since sister-in-law is so skillful, can she make me a couple of pieces? No problem. She made quite a few for me. She can make you a couple of pieces too. Lu Yuanchen agreed readily, then turned back and pressured me with his eyes. There's a lot of fabric, and you're free now. Just make a few pieces for Shumian on the side. I closed my eyes, feeling extremely annoyed. I had originally wanted to ignore them, but they insisted on provoking me. I didn't pretend anymore and pointed to the door with a cold face. Take your childhood sweetheart and get out. 10. Lu Yuanchen was stunned. I had never spoken to him in such a tone before. He sat there staring at me blankly, his face turning red. His eyes remained fixed on me, as if trying to figure out if there was a ghost possessing me. Finally, Ran Shumian broke the silence. She said pitifully, sister-in-law doesn't welcome me. I'll go back. With that, she stood up with her pregnant belly and slowly walked towards the door. Lu Yuanchen still looked at me in disbelief, as if he hadn't heard Ran Shumian's words at all. When Ran Shumian reached the door, she looked back and called softly, Brother Yuanchen. Only then did Lu Yuanchen look at her and casually said, You go back. Ran Shumian's eyes immediately welled up with tears. She bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, and then left. For a moment, only Lu Yuanchen and I were left in the room. The air seemed to thin out in an instant, making it hard to breathe. Finally, Lu Yuanchen couldn't stand it anymore and sighed, "You're also a woman. Why do you have to target Shumian? Her parents cut off relations with her because she got pregnant before marriage. She has no one to rely on. After all, you've been neighbors for 2 years. Isn't it only right that you help each other?" I sneered. "So, I owe her and should make clothes for her." Lu Yuanchen was at a loss for words. He clenched his fist on the table, and his tone became serious. "When May, be more reasonable." I smiled and asked him, "My fiancé almost lives at her place. Isn't that reasonable enough?" Lu Yuanchen stood up abruptly, his voice several degrees louder. "Our relationship is as pure as that of childhood sweethearts. What do you know?" I sneered. I didn't know and didn't want to know whether their relationship was really that of innocent childhood sweethearts or if they were using that as a cover for something else. I didn't care at all. The more one tries to hide something, the more one reveals it. 11. That night ended unhappily. Lu Yuanchen slammed the door and left. After it quieted down, I finally had time to continue making clothes. The sewing machine clicked away, and my heart gradually calmed down. The next morning, I got up early again, ready to go to the black market to sell clothes. As soon as I opened the door to my room, I heard the sound of deep breathing coming from Lu Yuanchen's room. I wondered to myself that although he was so angry last night, he still came back to stay, but it had nothing to do with me. So I went out directly. For the next whole month, I left early in the morning and returned at noon, then spent the afternoons and evenings making clothes in my room. The days passed peacefully and busily. The only unusual thing was that Lu Yuanchen came home more frequently. Sometimes, when he suddenly came back in the evening and saw the empty kitchen, he would even open the door to my room and ask, "Is there no dinner?" And my answer was always to shake my head and tell him to go next door to eat. Every time, it was hard to tell what he was feeling. He would just silently close the door to my room. Several times I thought he had gone next door to be with Ran Shumian, but when I opened the door, he was sitting in the living room, reading a book by the dim light. But I never paid attention to him and just treated him like air. After getting water, I would go back to my room. Ran Shumian made a lot of noise next door several times. Sometimes a bowl would break, and sometimes a flower pot would fall. After Lu Yuanchen rushed over to check, he would come back soon. This made me, who was drying my hair in the living room in my pajamas at the time, extremely embarrassed. I could only return to my room with a cold face. This peace lasted until one noon in autumn. I had gotten up too early in the morning and was taking a nap in my room. The door of the house was pushed open violently and slammed against the wall with a heavy thud. I was jolted awake from my dream. Lu Yuanchen stormed up to the bedside, grabbed my collar, and yanked me out of bed. "I've been nice to you for a few days, and you're pushing your luck. How dare you hit Shumian's belly?" My mind went blank for a moment, and everything went dark before my eyes. All I could hear was Lu Yuanchen's roar. When the darkness in front of my eyes cleared, I shook off Lu Yuanchen and screamed, "I haven't even seen Ran Shumian today. Where would I have gone to hit her belly?" Lu Yuanchen looked at me with disappointment, his voice harsh, still trying to deny it. "And one next door saw it. You threw a sandbag from our yard into Shumian's yard." My mind went blank, and then I remembered. When I came back from the black market today, I saw a cloth sandbag in the yard. After I picked it up, Ran Shumian's voice happened to float over the courtyard wall. She said she accidentally dropped the sandbag into our yard and asked me to throw it back to her. Without thinking much, I casually tossed the sandbag over the wall and then went back to my room to sleep. When the sandbag was thrown over, I clearly heard the sound of it hitting the ground. There's no way it could have hit Ran Shumian. Gritting my teeth, I enunciated each word sharply. "I didn't do it, and I'll never admit to something I didn't do." With that, I jumped out of bed, rushed out of the courtyard gate, and into Ran Shumian's house. Lu Yuanchen was startled by my sudden move and shouted at me to stop from behind. I went straight to Ran Shumian's bedside. She was lying on the bed, clutching her belly. When she saw me come in, she exclaimed in horror, "Don't hurt my baby. Please don't." I stepped forward quickly and slapped her across the face. "Don't worry, I won't hurt your baby. I'm just slapping your face." I slapped Ran Shumian twice before Lu Yuanchen rushed in and pulled me away. "When May, are you crazy? How dare you hit Shumian?" I used all my strength to shake off Lu Yuanchen and sneered at his enraged expression. "If I bully her, I do it openly. Open your eyes and see clearly. These 2 slaps are from me." Lu Yuanchen had never seen me like this before and was stunned in place. He opened his mouth but couldn't say a word. In front of him, I had always been restrained, trying my best to show my best side. In fact, I'm naturally hot-tempered and can't stand being wronged, but in my previous life, I endured so much grievance because of him. In this life, I won't chagrin myself anymore. Ran Shumian was already crying uncontrollably, and red, swollen slap marks were gradually appearing on both sides of her face. Lu Yuanchen quickly hugged her and patted her back to comfort her. "Stop crying, don't get too worked up and harm the baby." Then he turned to me and shouted, "Apologize to Shumian." I scoffed, "Apologize my ass. She wouldn't have gotten these 2 slaps if she hadn't been so provocative." 13. After this incident, Lu Yuanchen directly moved his bedding to Ran Shumian's house. He stopped talking to me completely, as if punishing me in this way. Unfortunately for him, I was only too happy to be free without him around, but Ran Shumian came to flaunt herself in front of me again. She was almost due to give birth, standing at the door with her big belly sticking out, eating an apple. It was as if she was holding that plate of peeled and sliced apples, specifically waiting for me. Brother Yuanchen peeled these for me. These 2 slaps were totally worth it. As she spoke, she picked up a piece of apple, popped it into her mouth, and said with satisfaction, "He also said that when the baby is born, he'll be the baby's father. When May, both his person and his heart are with me now. What can you do to compete with me?" After saying that, she looked at me with a smug smile, showing no sign of weakness at all. Only at this moment did I truly realize from the bottom of my heart that in both my past life and this life, it wasn't that I wasn't good enough for Lu Yuanchen. Rather, a man like Lu Yuanchen, who has no sense of boundaries, deserves a woman as low class as Ran Shumian. Thinking of this, I blurted it out, "I'm not competing. Congratulations, you've got yourself a 2-legged man. As for me, I would embrace a much broader world." In the past, when facing Ran Shumian and Lu Yuanchen, I would unconsciously feel inferior. They came from good families and had a higher educational level than me. So, when facing Lu Yuanchen, I always involuntarily myself, and when facing Ran Shumian, I always wanted to prove myself, feeling both inferior and arrogant. It was originally a messy game between the 2 of them, but I insisted on getting involved and lost myself in the process. In fact, there are far more meaningful things to do in life away from them. If all else fails, making money can be the guiding principle of my life. After all, if there's no meaning, at least there's money. After I finished speaking, Ran Shumian looked confused. She widened her eyes and asked, "What do you mean?" I just smiled and didn't answer, then turned around and walked into the courtyard. 14. I bought a train ticket to Guangzhou, and it would depart in 2 days. Looking at that small ticket, I felt a surge of anticipation for the future. I packed my luggage, sold or gave away the things I didn't need. In the end, except for the furniture, there was no sign that anyone had ever lived in the room. Before leaving, I went to the black market one last time, originally planning to say goodbye to the few vendors I did business with. Unexpectedly, the Industrial and Commercial Bureau was cracking down on speculative activities, and I was detained. There was only 1 day left before the train to Guangzhou departed, and I was in a panic. Finally, after pleading with the staff for a long time, he agreed to let me make a phone call. The phone in Lu Yuanchen's office was answered, but it wasn't him, its sister-in-law. Director Lu received an urgent call this afternoon and rushed to the hospital immediately. "Which hospital?" I asked anxiously. "The second hospital." The second hospital was the best hospital in our area, especially for obstetrics. There was no need for further explanation. I smiled, hung up the phone, feeling ashamed of myself for even thinking of asking him for help. As time passed, one by one, the small vendors who had been brought to the Industrial and Commercial Bureau with me in the morning were picked up by their families. I was the only one left. I could only tell myself, "It's okay, if I miss this train, there will be another one. It's just a few days delay. It's okay." Just when I was on the verge of despair, a familiar voice sounded behind me, steady and solemn. "Xiaomei, what are you doing here?" 15. I was lucky. Uncle Lu happened to be out on business. He bailed me out and took me home. As soon as we reached the yard, the dark windows of the house showed that no one was home. Uncle Lu's face immediately darkened. He sat at home for a long time, drinking 2 pots of tea, but Lu Yuanchen still didn't come back. This unfilial son, it's so late, and he still isn't home. "Uncle Lu, I'm afraid he won't be coming back tonight," I said calmly. Uncle Lu glanced at me, got up, and went outside to look at the windows next door. They were also dark. His face grew even darker. "Is he with that girl who got pregnant out of wedlock?" I remained silent, not wanting to answer. Who Lu Yuanchen was with had nothing to do with me anymore. In 10 hours, I would be boarding the train to Guangzhou. Finally, unable to wait for Lu Yuanchen to return, Uncle Lu said he still had work at the unit and left in a huff. After a day of fear and anxiety, I was completely exhausted. I fell into a deep sleep as soon as I lay down in bed. 16. When I woke up in the morning, the sound of footsteps in the living room made me think there was a burglar. I peeked through the keyhole for a long time before I recognized that it was Lu Yuanchen who had come back. He had a stubble of beard on his face, and his chin was covered in a faint blue-black. When he saw me, he said casually, "Shumian gave birth last night. It's a boy." Thinking of the boy who only cared about my property on my deathbed in my previous life, I showed a look of disgust. Lu Yuanchen caught that look, and he immediately became unhappy. "What's that look for? Even if you don't like Shumian, the child is innocent. Why do you have so much hostility towards the child?" I sneered slightly. How could he know that in my previous life, he hurt me the most, and this child was the second? I took care of him with all my heart as he grew up, but he always helped his biological mother deceive me. When I was suffering in bed, all he cared about was my property. Seeing that I remained silent, Lu Yuanchen stopped asking and softened his tone. "I came back to discuss something with you. After all, Shumian isn't married. How will she get married in the future with a child? After we get married, let's adopt this child." I never expected that just a few hours before I left, I would hear such outrageous words from him. I was so speechless that I opened my mouth but couldn't say a word. Seeing that I didn't respond, Lu Yuanchen added, "As long as you agree, we can get married immediately." I looked into his eyes, which were filled with confidence. It was ridiculous. In his eyes, I would readily accept such an absurd thing just to marry him sooner, as if the goal of my life was simply to marry him. I curled the corners of my mouth slightly and gave him a vague answer. "Let's talk about it later. Ran Shumian needs you right now. Go to the hospital." Lu Yuanchen's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on his previously stern face. "When May? You're finally being reasonable." 17. As soon as Lu Yuanchen left, I grabbed my luggage and headed straight for the train station. The moment the train started moving, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief and freedom. After a 2-day train journey, I finally arrived in Guangzhou, this hot land. At first, I was unfamiliar with the place, but thanks to the note Uncle Lu gave me, I was able to contact his old friend. That uncle gave me a lot of help, and I gradually got used to life in Guangzhou. When I was working in the factory, I was always on the lookout for business opportunities. At that time, fashionable and high-end women's clothing from abroad was being introduced to the mainland via Hong Kong. Taking advantage of the geographical location, I came into contact with a lot of beautiful women's clothing and earned my first pot of gold. After that, things got easier. I soon became wealthy, set up my own factory, and bought my own house. In the 3rd year after I came to Guangzhou, I wrote a letter to Uncle Lu and enclosed 2,000 yuan to thank him for his help at that time. Just a week later, I received a reply. However, the letter was signed by Lu Yuanchen. "Xiaomei, I'm glad to know that you're doing well in Guangzhou. I've submitted a leave application and am expected to arrive in Guangzhou next month. I'll come to take you home." The rest of the letter was full of trivial nonsense. In both my past and present lives, I never knew that Lu Yuanchen could say such cheesy love words. He said he missed me terribly, day and night, and that my image filled his mind. He said he had made a huge mistake, lost his true love, and now deeply regretted it. He also said he had already cut off all ties with Ran Shumian and was just waiting to take me home. Finally, he said that his only wish now was to find me, marry me, and have children with me. I casually tore up the letter and threw it into the trash. It was all nonsense. Only a fool would believe it. 18. Lu Yuanchen didn't cut off ties with Ran Shumian because he truly wanted to. It was because the biological father of Ran Shumian's child came looking for them. That man was a hooligan. He damaged his genitals in a fight and could no longer have children. That's why he came to Ran Shumian for the child, and it was revealed that she wasn't forced into pregnancy at all. Instead, Ran Shumian had initiated flirting with him, had premarital sex, and then been abandoned. The Ran family cut off relations with her because they were ashamed of her, but Lu Yuanchen foolishly believed that she was an innocent girl. But now, the innocent image of Ran Shumian in Lu Yuanchen's heart had completely shattered. He no longer believed in her. However, Ran Shumian wasn't going to give up easily. She went to see Lu Yuanchen every day, even causing a scene in the factory, creating chaos everywhere. Due to his conduct issues, Lu Yuanchen was removed from his position as director and became an ordinary worker. Ran Shumian spread rumors in the streets and alleys that she and Lu Yuanchen had a sexual relationship, forcing him to marry her. Lu Yuanchen tried his best to clarify saying he had never touched her. At this time, the neighbors all came forward to speak up, and one next door said she often saw Lu Yuanchen staying overnight at Ran Shumian's house. Sister Lu at the entrance of the alley said she had seen Lu Yuanchen buying a TV for Ran Shumian with her own eyes, so there was no way there was nothing going on between them. Even the doctors at the second hospital said that when Ran Shumian gave birth, Lu Yuanchen had been by her side, taking care of her. And they were definitely a couple. I learned all this from letters written by the vendors I used to do business with at the black market. Lu Yuanchen still hadn't sorted out this mess, yet he had the nerve to say in his letter that he had cut off ties. It was ridiculous. 19. However, it seemed that Lu Yuanchen was really planning to come and see me. His letters arrived at a rate of one every 2 days, reporting every trivial detail of his life. I opened the first few letters out of curiosity. But later, I didn't even bother to open them. They were piled up in the corner of my office, gathering dust. 2 days before the date he had announced for his arrival in Guangzhou, the letters suddenly stopped. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from Uncle Lu. He wrote in the letter that Lu Yuanchen was dead. He died the night before he was supposed to come to Guangzhou to find me. Lu Yuanchen was killed by Ran Shumian. Despite all the obstacles, Lu Yuanchen was determined to come to Guangzhou to find me. Since Ran Shumian couldn't keep him by her side, in a fit of desperation, she took his life. 18 stabs, each one carrying the deep resentment and unwillingness of this woman. Finally, before the break of dawn, the blood from the wound on her own wrist also drained out. 10 years later, my business spread across the country. After all, I have finally blossomed in this vast world. Lu Yuanchen's side story. I took care of Shumian in the hospital for 3 days, and then I accompanied her home. After settling her down at her home, I was going to go back and see Wen Mei. I wanted to talk to her again about adopting the child. Shumian was weak after giving birth and didn't want me to leave, but when she heard that I was going to discuss the child's matter, she nodded and let me go. Looking at her haggard and pale face, my heart tightened. It's really not easy for a woman to give birth. She has been through a life and death situation. I wonder if Wen Mei will become weak when she gives birth in the future. I shook my head and dismissed this thought. Wen Mei is so tough that giving birth won't change her in the slightest. When I got home, the tables and chairs in the living room were neatly arranged, and the tabletop was as clean as if it had just been wiped. It seems that since Wen Mei moved into this house, everything at home has been in good order. My bedding always smelled of the sun. After smelling the disinfectant in the hospital for 3 days, I kind of missed the smell of the sun now. The door of Wen Mei's room was tightly closed. I walked over and knocked on the door. Only silence greeted me. I turned the doorknob and opened the door. The scene that greeted my eyes made me freeze in place. No, something was wrong. Except for the bed and the table, all the items that should have filled the room with the breath of life had disappeared. I strode towards the wardrobe and opened it anxiously. It was empty, with nothing inside. She was gone. She left without saying a word, but where could she have gone? I didn't know. I just suddenly felt that it was a bit difficult to breathe, and I couldn't catch my breath. I needed fresh air. I ran all the way to Sister Lu's house at the entrance of the alley and asked anxiously, "Sister Lu, have you seen Xiaomei? All the things in her room are gone." Sister Lu was picking vegetables and said slowly, "She's gone, left a long time ago." Where did she go? I didn't even realize that my voice was trembling. You're asking where she went now that she's already gone. What were you doing before? I don't know, Sister Lu said irritably and got up to close the door. From that day on, I searched many places and asked many people, but no one knew where she had gone. Finally, I had to tell my father about Wen Mei's disappearance. My father made me kneel on the ground and gave me a good beating. That's when I found out that Wen Mei had broken off the engagement with me when she went to see my dad that day. I thought she was looking forward to marrying me, but it turned out that she had planned to break off the engagement with me long ago. I suddenly felt a faint anger. At that moment, I told myself that if she was gone, then so be it. It would be best if she never came back, but I couldn't fall asleep at night. I could only get myself drunk as soon as I got off work. Now I go home every day, but I can no longer see that little woman who was earnestly making clothes in front of the sewing machine. The smell of the sun on the bedding, as time passed, also turned into a musty smell. Shumian still pestered me, but I always lost my focus when I was with her. She was very unhappy and said that it was a good thing that Wen Mei was gone, so that no one would force me to marry her. However, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I couldn't be happy at all. Perhaps, deep down, I had already regarded her as my wife. I had been waiting all along to marry her. Things happened very suddenly. When Shumian's child was 2 years old, that wretched-looking man came to the door. That's when I realized that the childhood sweetheart I had been trying so hard to protect had always been a woman with a promiscuous nature. She had lied to me. I never wanted to see Ran Shumian again. When Mei left because of her existence, but I had driven Wen Mei away because of such a two-faced person, I really regretted it. When I received news about Wen Mei from my father, I was being criticized for my conduct issues. Seeing that she had lost my trust, Ran Shumian started to show her true colors and act shamelessly. I was physically and mentally exhausted from her torment and also lost my position as the factory director. I was living like a walking dead every day. But the address of Wen Mei's letter still made me overjoyed. I wrote her many letters, telling her that I would go to find her, but she never responded to me. Xiao Wen, the list hasn't been officially announced yet. Why don't you go home and talk to Director Liu again? After the leave application was approved, I quickly booked a train ticket. The night before departure, Ran Shumian hugged my legs and begged me not to leave. The disgust in my heart was on the verge of erupting. And I just buried myself in packing my luggage. You can't stop me. I'm going to find Wen Mei. Ran Shumian was no longer the gentle and beautiful woman she used to be. She shouted at me hysterically. What about me? You said you would marry me. Everyone knows we slept together. You have to marry me. I couldn't stand listening to these words anymore. I pushed her away and rushed into Wen Mei's bedroom. There was something I had to take with me. I found the jade bracelet from our engagement, wrapped it tightly, and put it in the pocket close to my chest. But as soon as I turned around, a sharp pain shot through my lower abdomen. Ran Shumian stood in front of me, smiling creepily. You really want to leave? Then go ahead, leave now. As soon as she finished speaking, countless sharp pains came from all over my body. In the last moment before I lost consciousness, there was only one question in my mind. If I had married Wen Mei properly in the first place, would my life have been very happy? Story 2. After my rebirth, the first thing I did was to cancel my engagement with Pei Yan. I changed my college application choices and no longer aimed to attend the university he was studying at. In my past life, I lived solely for him, yet, I never knew that he could never let go of his first love. When he was in the late stages of stomach cancer, his only wish was to be truly married to his first love. So, in this life, I will grant him that wish. Just before the deadline to submit university applications, I changed my top choice to Southern Province University. Not only did I remove the originally preferred Capital City University from my top choice, but I also deleted all schools located in the capital city. My class teacher looked at me in surprise. Nan Shuang. Wasn't Capital City University your top choice? I shook my head. Capital City University was never really my top choice. It was only because Pei Yan studied there. Wherever he was, that was where I wanted to be. To follow him, I had targeted Capital City University since my first year of high school. I worked hard for him and even applied to almost every college in the capital city to ensure I could stay close. But now, I no longer wanted to go. I submitted my application in the final minutes and smiled at my teacher. Teacher Lee, it's too cold in the north, I prefer warmer cities. She patted my shoulder. Southern University is also a good choice. At that moment, my phone rang. It was Grandpa Pei. Little Shuang, where are you? Yan is about to have a holiday and he's asking if there's anything you want. He can bring it back from the capital city for you. I answered. No need, Grandpa. Yes, Pei Yan would also be on holiday soon. In my previous life, right after I was admitted to Capital University, Grandpa Pei couldn't wait to throw a party and announce to everyone our engagement. Pei Yan and I were engaged from an early age. After my parents died, I was raised by my grandfather. When he was seriously ill at the age of 10, he sought out his old army buddy, who was Grandpa Pei. On his deathbed, he entrusted me to the Pei family and then passed away. They had arranged our marriage when they were comrades in arms. Thus, outsiders often said that I was a child bride raised by the Pei family. Because of this engagement, I closely followed in Pei Yan's footsteps, but I never knew that this was never what he wanted. In my previous life, right after graduating from university, I married Pei Yan and soon had a child. Meanwhile, Pei Yan continued his studies, eventually becoming a professor at the university. I was forced into the role of a housewife, spending my days taking care of the home and teaching our child. Many people thought that I, a woman without a career, was not a match for the highly educated and refined Professor Pei. Even when our son faced problems, he would only consult Pei Yan. He always said, Dad, you're so brilliant, how could you marry someone as dumb as Mom? Pei Yan never told him that I also graduated from Capital University. He would only say, your mother gave up her career for you. My son would just sneer. I don't need her, she hasn't contributed anything to our family. At that time, I thought it was just childish talk and turned around to cook and do laundry for them, but as my son grew older, he relied on Pei Yan even more. He always thought I was foolish and not presentable. He would only invite Pei Yan to parent-teacher meetings, and everyone envied him for having a professor as a father. For school family activities, he would only want Pei Yan to attend, even preferring Pei Yan's assistant to fill the role of the mother. I once asked him why he was unwilling for others to meet his mother. The disdain in his eyes hurt me. "You're so foolish. I'm afraid you'll hold us back and make my classmates laugh at me." That time I was very angry, and I rummaged through old boxes to find my dusty diploma to show him. "Pei Ziyu, look carefully. Your mother also graduated from Capital University. Mom also graduated from Kyoto University. She's not worthless." He was frightened by my hysterical demeanor and kept his distance. "Mom, you're so scary." As soon as Pei Yan returned home, he saw our mother and son confrontation. He took our son back to his room and then came over to comfort me, gently patting my back. "Nanshuang, he's just a child. Why are you picking a fight with a child?" "Yes, he is just a child. Even the flesh that fell from my body after carrying him for 10 months degrades me to nothing. Outsiders even mock me for not being a match for Pei Yan. But Pei Yan, he never spoke a word for me. I never understood why he agreed to marry me and take responsibility for me, yet always seemed like he didn't love me. Until the year Pei Yan turned 50, everything became clear. He was diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer, and I felt like the sky was falling. Pei Ziyu was still studying for his doctorate and had just started dating his girlfriend. Only I could take care of Pei Yan. I curled up on the hospital bed every day, never daring to fully fall asleep at night. I was afraid something might happen to him. On many nights, he cried like a child, holding my hand and saying, "Nanshuang, it hurts so much, everywhere." Seeing him in pain, I was in pain too. When his condition was at its worst, Pei Yan was completely dependent on others for daily life, even needing help with his excretions. Pei Ziyu visited a few times, each time furrowing his brows and quickly leaving due to discomfort. Only I cleaned up after him without complaints. Changing his clothes and bedding, the highly respected professor had become helpless, several times contemplating suicide, but I always stopped him. He told me more than once, "Nanshuang, you are the only person in this world who truly cares for me." I thought that he still had me in his heart. However, after the hospital issued the 3rd critical illness notice, Pei Yan asked me to find someone. That person was his first love. He Chu Shue, but He Chu Shue had gone abroad early on, and they had lost contact. I went through Pei Yan's classmate records, contacted many of his classmates and teachers, and even found He Chu Shue's elementary school teacher's contact information. Finally, I learned from that teacher that she had returned to the country long ago and was now living alone. That was the first time I met He Chu Shue, who, despite being middle-aged, was still stylishly dressed. Unlike me, who had spent half my life toiling for the family, looking disheveled, she entered Pei Yan's hospital room, and they talked alone for a long time. When she left, it was clear that there was a new light in Pei Yan's eyes. Lying on the hospital bed, he called me and our son over and solemnly announced a decision. "Nanshuang, I want to marry Chu Shue. It's my final wish." I stood there, too shocked to speak, looking at my son. His expression was normal. Clearly, they had already made this decision in private. At that moment, I felt like the first half of my life was a joke. I firmly refused to divorce, but was scolded by my son. "Mom, Dad was trapped by your marriage contract back then and couldn't pursue Auntie. Now he just wants to be a real husband to Auntie before he dies. Are you going to stop him? How can you be so selfish?" I stared blankly at my son, who had grown mature. And suddenly his face seemed so unfamiliar. As a child, Pei Ziyu still looked a bit like me, but as he grew older, the more I resembled Pei Yan. He said that Pei Yan was trapped by that marriage arrangement, and am I not trapped in this damned marriage arrangement too? From the moment I moved into the Pei family, they told me that I was to marry Pei Yan in the future. My heart and eyes were filled only with him, unable to see anyone else. What finally overwhelmed me was Pei Ziyu's words. "If you don't agree with Dad, don't blame me for not recognizing you as my mom. I didn't want this. I had toiled for the Pei family all my life, only to end up deserted by everyone." The moment I received the divorce certificate, I became very confused. My son and He Chu Shue, pushing Pei Yan in his wheelchair, happily obtained their new marriage certificate. Pei Yan, over 50, held the marriage certificate close to his chest as if it were a treasured possession. I remembered the day we got our certificate. He didn't even smile for the photos, and after receiving the certificate, he just glanced at it and put it in the drawer. So, the difference between loving and not loving is really huge. Pei Yan even celebrated his wedding with great fanfare. That day, he looked remarkably spirited, showing no signs of illness. He finally fulfilled his dream of marrying his first love in front of everyone. Everyone praised their fairy tale love story, unconcerned about me. Feeling I was unworthy, even my son said, "Mom, look how happy Dad is now. This is the happiest I've seen him." The day after the wedding, Pei Yan once again was admitted to the ICU and did not make it through this time. Perhaps his lifelong wish fulfilled, he passed away peacefully. As his wife, He Chu Shui inherited most of his estate. Right after Pei Yan's funeral, she went on a world tour, sharing her life and became known as the carefree grandma among netizens. Pei Ziyu is planning his marriage and asked me to pay for his wedding house. He said that I took half of Pei Yan's wealth during the divorce, and as a mother, it was my duty to buy him a house. I ignored him, as I had already donated the money to charity. I regret realizing all this so late, treating a piece of char siu as a treasure. Upon learning this, Pei Ziyu furiously vandalized my home. He harshly said, "You can forget about me taking care of you in your old age." He was wrong. I never expected him to take care of me. I poured out the remaining pills at home. In fact, after giving birth to Pei Ziyu, I suffered from postpartum depression. Professor Pei was busy and hardly ever home. Naturally, he never noticed my depression. Pei Ziyu also didn't know that I had already purchased my own burial plot. I clearly realized that I had lived a failed life. I just didn't expect that heaven would give me another chance to start over. This time, I will stay away from Pei Yan. Returning to the Pei household, Grandpa Pei greeted me with a warm smile. Perhaps in my past life, the only person who was kind to me was Grandpa Pei. He never treated me as an outsider, always treating me like his own granddaughter. When I was giving birth to Pei Ziyu, Pei Yan was busy with work and never visited the hospital. At that time, Grandpa Pei sensed something was wrong. He said if Pei Yan didn't treat me well, I could leave him at any time. But looking at my son sucking his thumb in my arms, I couldn't harden my heart to leave. He saw my reluctance and occasionally reprimanded Pei Yan. Pei Yan listened to him, started coming home more often, and showed more concern for me. But Grandpa Pei passed away early, and without his supervision, Pei Yan reverted to his old ways. So, while playing chess with Grandpa, I spoke up, "Grandpa, let's call off my marriage arrangement with Pei Yan." Grandpa Pei looked at me unexpectedly. "Xiao Shuang, weren't you always saying you'd only marry Pei Yan?" he asked. I smiled. I was naive as a child, but now that I've grown up, I've realized I don't like him. He adjusted his reading glasses and sighed. "Although I don't know what happened between you and Ian, since you say so, I'll listen to you." Finally, he added, "If you can't be my granddaughter-in-law, then just be my granddaughter." "Okay," I nodded. I was well aware of Grandfather Pei's affection for me and knew that even if I wasn't with Pei Yan, I would still treat him like a real grandfather. After the divorce, I felt a great sense of relief. On the day Pei Yan returned, I was working a summer job at a milk tea shop. In my previous life, I had clung to him during this vacation, but now I wanted to avoid him as much as possible. Hearing a familiar voice ordering, I realized it was Pei Yan. I avoided his gaze and handed him his milk tea as if nothing was unusual. He chuckled and asked why I was pretending not to recognize him. He then pulled out a unicorn toy from behind him. "I got this for you from Universal Studios. You like the Minions movie, right? It's a character from the film." In the past, I would have happily accepted it and been delighted all night, no matter what Pei Yan gave me. I used to adore it. Without even a glance, I said, "Pei Yan, I don't like the Minions." A flicker of embarrassment crossed his handsome face. He must have remembered then. It was not me who liked the Minions. I had seen many Minions elements on He Chu Shui's social media in my previous life. Her keychain even had Minions on it. The gift he brought me must have been a convenient pick while he was out with her. Pei Yan took back the toy and pulled out a brooch and a pair of earrings from his pocket. The brooch was shaped like a rose, and the earrings were pink. He asked again, "Do you like this brooch, or perhaps the earrings? Do you like any of them?" I shook my head and dismissed him. "I don't like any of them. Please don't bother me while I'm working." Pei Yan never really knew my preferences. He didn't know I didn't like roses or the color pink. I remember after our marriage, one of his students invited us to take a marriage quiz. He knew nothing about what I liked. He couldn't even guess, yet, I remembered every one of his preferences. He failed the test, not even reaching the passing score, and he showed no remorse, instead blaming the student for making tricky questions. The outcome of our relationship had been clear in that score, yet I was completely oblivious. When I finished work, Pei Yan came to pick me up. He asked how I wanted to spend my birthday. This must have been another task assigned by his grandfather. I looked up and told him, "Pei Yan, You don't have to spend it with me. A flash of confusion passed through his eyes. Nanchuan, what's wrong with you? You've been acting strange since I came back. I promised grandfather I'd spend your birthday with you. How about at the Yunqing Hotel? I remember you love their seafood. I casually agreed. After all, it didn't matter to me whether or not he spent my birthday with me. The admission letter arrived. Pei Yan was about to help me get it, but I squeezed past him first. He looked at me, puzzled. Nanchuan, why won't you let me help you? Of course, it was because I was afraid he would see that I had changed my college preference. I didn't show it to grandfather either, and locked it away like a treasure in my suitcase. I set the date for the college registration in my planner. In a month and a half, I would be free from Pei Yan. Lately, I felt that you've been acting strange. Are you avoiding me on purpose? Hearing his voice, I quickly turned off my phone. In the previous life, when I was clinging to him, he became impatient and pushed me away, saying, Gu Nanchuan, can you stop bothering me? If it weren't for grandfather's sake, I would have driven you out a long time ago. Later, when he found out I was sad, he bought me a small cake to appease me. Nanchuan, I didn't mean what I said, but I also need some personal space, now that I've stopped seeking him out. He seems uncomfortable with it. Soon, it was my birthday. On the way to the hotel, Pei Yan took a phone call. He looked tense, responding on the phone, don't worry, I'm here. After hanging up, he pulled the car over and turned to me. Nanchuan, something came up suddenly. You go ahead by taxi. I casually acknowledged and obediently got out of the car. At the hotel, I ordered the most expensive dishes. After all, grandfather Pei said tonight's bill was on Pei Yan. When we were halfway through the meal, Pei Yan finally arrived. He handed me a birthday gift, slightly apologetic. Sorry I'm late. Happy birthday, Nanchuan. The gift was a diamond necklace. In my previous life, I treasured it, wearing it every day. I remember the first time I met He Chushue. She pointed to my necklace and said with a laugh, after all these years, why are you still wearing that necklace? I must say, I have good taste. Pei Yan almost chose a different one, but I strongly advised against it. I couldn't listen to her anymore. My mind fixated on one thought. The gift I treasured was also chosen with another woman. I accepted the gift without even looking at it and tossed it into my bag. Pei Yan was taken aback. Normally, I would have opened the gift immediately, but before he could inquire further, his phone vibrated again. He excused himself with an apology, and I remained indifferent. When he returned, even grandfather Pei couldn't stand it. You said you would accompany Nanchuan for her birthday, yet you left her on the road halfway and kept her waiting while you took calls. No wonder Nanchuan says she doesn't want to marry you. Pei Yan was stunned. Nanchuan, did you really say that? I did not confirm or deny, simply stating I was tired and wanted to go home. I got up and left. Pei Yan chased after me, persistently grabbing my wrist. You've been acting weird since I came back. Are you upset that I've been neglecting you? I admit, I was wrong. I've been busy preparing for a competition. But I'll make it up to you when I'm free. Okay, I found it laughable. If I am not mistaken, both calls were from He Chushue. She stayed in the capital to work, harassed by a male colleague, and thus she called him. He didn't know that I heard everything clearly. Seeing that I remained silent, Pei Yan softened his tone. Nanchuan, don't be so cold towards me. I know those were just your jokes. I don't take them seriously. I coldly pulled away from him. Pei Yan, what makes you think I will always like you? In my last life, he took advantage of my feelings for him, repeatedly leaving me and hurting me. It took me half a lifetime to realize that he didn't love me. Now that I'm letting go, why is he panicking? After that day, Pei Yan unexpectedly became the one who clung to me. Wherever I went, he followed, and he would even hang up the phone the moment it rang. Even the owner of the milk tea shop started gossiping about our relationship. I said, he's just someone unimportant. The owner just smiled and said nothing. One day, I had an argument with a parent. Her son had been caught on camera stealing another customer's milk tea. Stubbornly, the parent refused to admit it and even tried to throw a milk tea at me from the table. Luckily, Pei Yan was there to pick me up from work and quickly intervened, using his tall stature to shield me. If you lay a hand on her, I will call the police. The woman, seeing Pei Yan, shrank back and tried to sneak away with her son. Unexpectedly, the next moment, the boy suddenly ran over and pushed me hard. Caught off guard, I fell and hit my head sharply against the corner of the table. A sharp pain surged through my forehead, and I felt a warm liquid. Pei Yan immediately called for help to restrain the mother and son and called the police. Then, he scooped me up and rushed me to the hospital. Throughout, his worried expression seemed genuinely sincere. I had once cherished the warmth of his embrace, even though he clearly didn't like me. Why was he always so kind to me, leading me to immerse myself in the illusion that he loved me too? Pei Yan began to care for me diligently. It was mandated by grandfather Pei, concerned about scarring. Pei Yan had the doctor prescribe the best ointment available. He even said, even if it scars, it doesn't matter, you'll still look good. It won't affect anything. I remember in my past life, when I gave birth to Pei Ziyu through a cesarean section, Pei Yan was too busy with work to come. Recovery from the cesarean was slow, and he had no time to care for me. After giving birth to Pei Ziyu, our time together dwindled even more. We hardly found time alone even when we managed to send our son to stay with grandfather Pei for a few days. But when he lifted my clothes and saw the scar on my stomach, he suddenly fell silent. Back then, there was a faint disgust in his eyes. I understood what that meant, buttoned up my clothes, and said I would sleep in the guest room. His disgust was never about the scar, it was about me with the scar. By the third day of Pei Yan taking care of me, He Chu Shui couldn't sit still anymore and traveled a long distance to find him. I had just had my bandages removed, and Pei Yan was changing my dressing. When I looked up, I saw He Chu Shui standing at the door, staring at him. No wonder she still looked so good even as she aged, confident, radiant, and with bright, expressive eyes when she was young. It's no wonder Pei Yan liked her so much. Seeing her, Pei Yan became flustered and almost knocked over the medicine bottle. He Chu Shui, jealous, hooked her arm around his shoulder and said, "No wonder you haven't been answering my calls these past few days. You've been busy taking care of this little sister." He awkwardly responded, "Chu Shui, don't misunderstand. Grandfather asked me to take care of her." "Yeah, right. Everyone knows your family raised a child bride, and it's her, right? She does look pretty good. You two match well," she said sarcastically. Pei Yan took her outside, trying to explain that he only saw me as a sister. The countdown on my memo app went off. It reminded me that in 10 days, I would be completely free from Pei Yan. The registration day for Nan University and Jing University was the same, so Pei Yan never suspected anything. The day before registration, Pei Yan helped me pack. "Nan Shuang, the climate in Jing City is dry. Bring more moisturizing products, though you can also buy some after you arrive in Jing City. The cafeteria at Jing University is quite good. The area has many restaurants, and there are plenty of options if you like spicy food. Our school is quite large. Once you arrive, I'll accompany you to buy an electric scooter, so it will be more convenient for you to get around." Pei Yan chattered nonstop while organizing things. I already knew everything he talked about. Over the past 2 years, I had secretly visited his school to see him. I also knew that he liked to play basketball on Wednesday afternoons when he was off. There were always many girls cheering for him, and the line to bring him water was long. He enjoyed eating Chongqing noodles at the third cafeteria. I had tried them a few times with him, and they were so spicy that my nose ran. He also liked to spend 2 hours in the library every weekend. I secretly read every book he borrowed, even the obscure philosophical ones, forcing myself to digest them. Pei Yan didn't know that I had quietly noted everything about him. He thought I applied to Jing University because of our marriage arrangement or because of grandfather Pei's wishes, but in truth, I did it to be close to him. Now, listening to him, I felt somewhat distracted. He asked me, "Nanshuang, shall we head to Jing City together tomorrow?" I replied indifferently, "No need, stay a few more days with grandfather." Pei Yan insisted on taking me to the airport. All the way, he kept reminding me to be careful and to wait for him at Jing University. Sensing something, he asked nervously, "You will wait for me at Jing University, right?" It wasn't until he saw me pull out a plane ticket to Nan Province and firmly grasped my wrist that his face showed disbelief. "Nanshuang, didn't you apply for Jing University? Isn't that what you've always wanted?" I pulled away from his grip, my expression cold. "What does it matter to you where I go?" He was stunned, seemingly not expecting my cold response. "I don't know what I did to upset you, but you shouldn't gamble with your future over a grudge." "Pei Yan, are you really that important?" I almost laughed in frustration. "I'm not a study genius." He didn't know how hard I worked to get into Jing University, and it wasn't even the major I wanted. Previously, I was willing to do anything to follow him. Honestly, following him might have ruined my future. The moment I boarded the plane, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. For the first time in my life, I could study the major I liked and live for myself. The plane landed, and my phone lit up with hundreds of missed calls and messages, all from Pei Yan. He demanded to know why I didn't consult him about calling off the engagement and why I changed my university preferences. I was puzzled. By calling off the engagement, he was free. Shouldn't he be happy? Now he could be with He Chu Shui without any guilt about our engagement or my feelings. Isn't that better? his messages were too bothersome. So I silently blocked him. I quickly adapted to life at Nan University, integrating into new circles and making many new friends. At an early semester mixer, my roommate and I performed a girl group dance. It was my first time dancing in front of people, and we had practiced for several days. I had always wanted to learn dance but had no time due to my relentless study schedule for Jing University. In my past life, I wanted to learn too, but Pei Yan had dismissed it as a waste of money. Later, I found out that He Chushue was a dancer. She had her own dance troupe, and during the first few years of our marriage, Pei Yan had been secretly funding her tours and never missed a performance. She cut off contact after she married someone else. He wasn't short of money, he just didn't want to waste it on me. The show received a lot of praise, and even a male student from the neighboring mechanical and electrical engineering college came on stage to present flowers. As I walked off the stage with the flowers, laughing with my roommate, I caught sight of a familiar figure not far away. Pei Yan stood in the shadows, his expression inscrutable. My roommates, sensing the situation, left, and Pei Yan finally spoke up. Gu Nanshuang, why did you block me? Can't I block you because I find you annoying? I didn't want to get entangled with him, but he stubbornly blocked my path. You used to cling to me all the time, and I never complained. He stopped mid-sentence, realizing something, and his tone softened. Nanshuang, it's my fault, isn't it? Are you punishing me? Don't flatter yourself. He stared intently at the flowers in my hands and said, the person who just gave you flowers, is he an admirer, or a boyfriend? You only ever smiled like that at me. I couldn't help but frown. Who he is doesn't concern you. I blocked you because I wanted you to stop bothering me. Why are you still coming to my school to find me? Shouldn't he be happily together with his beloved? I finally had a new life. Why did he still have to come and disturb me? I left angrily, and after that, he somehow found out where my dorm was and waited downstairs for several days. I pretended not to see him when I went out, ignoring him, avoiding him. After being rebuffed by me, he had no choice but to return to Beijing University, since he still had his studies. It seems grandfather Pei found out, and Pei Yan never bothered me again. Peace lasted until my sophomore year, when I received a call from an unknown number. It was Pei Yan. The first time, I hung up and blocked him as soon as I heard his voice, but he kept calling from different numbers, and I couldn't take it anymore. I answered and yelled at him. After a while, I heard him say, Nanshuang, how did we end up like this? The sound of a glass breaking came through the phone. Nanshuang, I don't know if you remember the girl who came to see me before. She's going abroad. My heart sank. In the past life, He Chushue also went abroad around this time. Back then, I was clueless, only remembering Pei Yan reeking of alcohol when he found me. He hugged me tightly, almost crushing me. That night, under the beautiful moonlight, he carefully lifted my face. It was the first time I was so close to him. Close enough to see his eyelashes and the reflection of myself in his eyes. My heart raced as he leaned in closer and finally kissed my lips. My brain stopped working for a moment. All I could feel was the softness of his lips. I didn't know why he suddenly drank, or why he suddenly found me. That night, I was confused and spent the night with him. The next day, he woke up full of remorse, telling me he would take responsibility. Naively, I thought he loved me too. Now, he was still mumbling on the phone. Nanshuang, why did it turn out like this? Why does everyone have to leave me behind? I was tired of his nonsense and coldly said, because you don't deserve it. You had it coming. After saying that, I hung up the phone and blocked him again. Throughout the 4 years of university, I hadn't returned to the Pei family home for a long time. Grandfather Pei knew I was deliberately avoiding Pei Yan and didn't say much about it. After graduating, I pursued a master's degree and settled in the southern province, sending money to grandfather Pei every month. Even though the Pei family was not short of money, I wanted to show my filial piety. After all, the Pei family had raised me for so many years. It was only when grandfather Pei became seriously ill that I hurried back to the Pei household. Seeing Pei Yan again after so many years, I felt no turmoil in my heart. Grandfather Pei left the two of us alone in the hospital room. Seeing his aged and sickly face, I couldn't help but cry. No matter when, grandfather Pei was always the one who truly cared for me. He never accepted the money I sent over the years, only telling me, Grandpa just needs you to come and see me. Xiaoshuang, that's enough. I felt deeply ashamed. In my efforts to avoid Pei Yan, I had also avoided seeing grandfather Pei. He held my hand tightly, his eyes clouded with reluctance to let go. Xiaoshuang, my biggest regret, he said, is not fulfilling my old comrade's wish to see you and Ian together, but I also regret forcing you both together. I can see that you are doing better now, so, Grandpa hopes you will follow your heart and walk your own path. To Pei Yan, however, he said, it's your fault that I lost such a wonderful granddaughter-in-law. After visiting grandfather Pei Yan and I left together, and outside awaited He Chu Shue, who had been waiting for him for a long time. He specifically explained to me. Chu Shue and I are together now. I smiled and replied, yeah, you two are a good match. It seems that in this new life, he finally got his wish to be with his true love, his moonlight, and to be with her. He even had a big fight with grandfather Pei. So many people say that it was Pei Yan who aggravated his illness. Some relatives joked, if only you two were together, the old man would surely live to 100. They were wrong. In a previous life, Pei Yan and I were married with children. And grandfather Pei did not live much longer. Instead, he was always worried about our marriage, which took a toll on his health. Pei Yan is getting married now and sent me an invitation. I casually threw it in the trash, just like the diamond necklace from back then. Because of grandfather's death, Pei Yan came back early to take over the company, abandoning his PhD studies. In this life, I chose to pursue a PhD and become a professor. At first, I was scared. I feared that my children would despise me as a useless homemaker, but then I thought, why should I prove my worth to others? So I quit my professor job and started trying new things, looking towards a broader world. I saw Pei Yan again when He Chu Shue was causing a fuss about their divorce. My friend was handling their divorce case and shared a few complaints with me. I heard their married life wasn't going well. He Chu Shue craved freedom, never took care of their child for even a day, and was always out having fun. Pei Yan, busy with work and caring for their child, was stretched thin and began to complain. Afterward, they argued nearly every day, with no peace at all. So it turned out just as the saying goes, the moonlight of youth turns to the mundane rice of daily life. The special mark becomes just another stain. I met a friend for dinner, and when I picked her up from work, I happened to run into the Pei couple. He looked terribly haggard, a shadow of his former spirited self. He Chu Shue was still stunningly beautiful, truly his pampered red rose. Pei Yan was holding their son's hand. She walked away without looking back. When Pei Yan saw me, his face was full of embarrassment. You caught us at a bad time. I ignored it and went to have dinner with a friend. On the way, my friend mentioned that the woman was adamant about getting a divorce, but the man refused to agree. Is this the magic of an unattainable love? Even when life had deteriorated to this point, he still held on. I treated it like a story and soon forgot about it. My lawyer friend told me that Pei Yan had asked for my contact information, wondering if I would be willing to give it to him. I naturally refused. Only then did she tell me that Pei Yan was in the late stages of stomach cancer and didn't have much longer to live. He just wanted to see me one last time. I felt so nauseated I wanted to vomit. I insisted that she not give him my contact information and that she need not mention anything about him to me again. Can I say one last thing? I heard that you were Pei's cherished unrequited love. The reason they were discussing divorce was because he found your photo in his bookcase. Now that he mentioned wanting to see you, she lost it completely, disregarding his illness and slapped him furiously. I suddenly regretted why I hadn't done the same. But this no longer had anything to do with me. Who his cherished love was, didn't matter anymore. Pei Yan was just a passerby in my life. Extra. Pei Yan, upon learning of his advanced stomach cancer, Pei Yan felt it was a release. The company was unstable, and He Chu Shue demanded a high standard of living. He had ruined his stomach from all the entertaining he had to do for business cooperations. He Chu Shue stood in front of his hospital bed, indifferently handing him a divorce agreement. You're dying anyway, just sign this quickly. I don't even want your assets, just don't let my household registration book read widowed. It's bad luck. Pei Yan wasn't surprised. He had long realized they were from different worlds and not suited for each other. He took the agreement and before signing, he had one request. Can you help me find Gunan Chuang's contact information? At this, He Chu Shue erupted in rage, grabbing his collar hysterically. Pei Yan, are you still obsessed with your childhood sweetheart? If you liked her so much, why didn't you pursue her back then? Instead of deceiving me into marrying you, I gave up my dance career for you, bore you a son, and now have to look after you. How have I wronged you? Have you ever loved me? Pei Yan, facing her accusations and slaps, simply repeated one sentence, promise me, and I'll sign. He Chu Shue slammed the door and left. Pei Yan lay in his hospital bed, staring at the pure white ceiling, recalling the first time he met Gunan Chuang. He was 12 years old when his grandfather brought a timid girl before him. He told him that she would be part of the Pei family from then on. In the future, she would be his wife. As a young man full of pride, he couldn't accept this sudden fiancé, so whenever Gu Nanchuang came looking for him, he showed impatience and kept her at a distance. But that didn't dampen her enthusiasm. She followed him around like a little tail, calling after him Brother Yin. On one hand, he disliked her, while on the other, he somewhat hoped she would get into Beijing University, but for some reason, he suddenly noticed that the clingy girl had become sensitive and distant. He felt as if he had lost something. He Chu Xue, wanting to finalize the divorce smoothly, reluctantly sought out the lawyer who knew Gu Nanchuang. But the lawyer's final response was a firm no. See, the person you can't stop thinking about is avoiding you like a plague. How disgusting are you, thinking of going back to her even when you're dying. Listening to He Chushua's scorn, he finally signed the paper. His ex-wife left satisfied, and his son, who despised his dependency, wouldn't even glance at him. A warm sensation